देखिए, भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने खुद ने मंदिर तोड़ा है। बीजेपी के बोर्ड ने प्रस्ताव लेकर वहां मंदिर तोड़ दिया, दुकान तोड़ दी, मकान तोड़ दिए।
उन्होंने कैसे तोड़ा? आप तो आपकी सरकार की है ना अभी वहाँ पे।
मैं बिल्कुल वही बोल रहा हूँ, आप सुनेंगी पूरी बात तो समझ में आएगा ना। सरकार हमारी है, नीचे बोर्ड उनका है। नगर पालिका में बोर्ड में बीजेपी का बहुमत है, 35 पार्षद उनके जीते, एक चेयरमैन बना। उनको पूरे अधिकार होते हैं नगर पालिका में काम करने के। वहां पर सिर्फ एक पार्षद हमारा जीता हुआ है। एमएलए को उन्होंने मीटिंग में बुलाया नहीं और प्रस्ताव लेकर और वहां पर उन्होंने मंदिर तोड़ दिए, दुकान तोड़ दी, मकान तोड़ दिए। इसीलिए बोर्ड के खिलाफ हमने प्रस्ताव लिया और प्रस्ताव लेकर हमने एसडीएम और वहां पे जो ईओ है उसको भी हमने सस्पेंड किया और हमने ये कहा कि ये मंदिर हम दोबारा बनाएंगे। पाप बीजेपी ने किया है। पहली बार ऐसा हुआ है जब बीजेपी अपने पाप को छुपाने के लिए राजगढ़ में रैली निकालने के लिए अलवर में रैली निकाल दी है। राजगढ़ में जब ये गए तो इनके बाबा बालकनाथ को महिलाओं ने चूड़ी पहना दी, वहां से बीजेपी के लोगों को भगा दिया, तो काम नहीं करने दिया। बीजेपी के लोग नेतागिरी करने राजगढ़ गए थे, उनसे ये पूछो वापस क्यों आ गए। पब्लिक ने ये कहा तुम ही मंदिर तोड़वा, तो इनके पार्षद खड़े रह कर मंदिर, दुकान, मकान तोड़वा रहे थे। खुद ने प्रस्ताव पास किया है, एमएलए विरोध कर रहा था और ईओ को उसको सस्पेंड इसलिए किया गया यदि बोर्ड ने प्रस्ताव भी लिया तो अधिकारियों की जिम्मेदारी थी सरकार को सूचित कर दे।
तो क्या मंदिर आप लोग बनाएंगे? क्या अभी आप मंदिर बनाएंगे?
आप आके दिखाओ ना वहाँ पर राजगढ़ में, जब आप
मंदिर बनाएंगे और शान से बनाएंगे। और
क्यों बना रहे हो मंदिर? आपने तो तोड़ा ही नहीं है, आपने तो तोड़ा ही नहीं है, क्यों बना रहे हो? बना देंगे मंदिर,
गर्म होने की जरूरत नहीं है। आपको मैं जानता हूँ, आप राजगढ़ में चूड़ी पहन कर आए हो, ज्यादा नाटकबाजी मत करो। नाटकबाजी ज्यादा दिन नहीं चलेगी, समझ गए ना?
बालकनाथ जी,
ज्यादा नाटकबाजी मैं जानता हूँ, आपकी नाटकबाजी
गहलोत सरकार का
मैं प्रताप सिंह खाचरियावास हूँ, मैं हूँ भगवान कर चुकी है, आप नाटक करते हैं, मैं नाटक नहीं करता, समझ गए ना आप?
और ये जो अगर सरकार कह रही है कि वो मंदिर बनाएंगे,
पहला सन्यासी देखा है जो भगवा वस्त्र पहनकर झूठ बोलता है। पहली बार ऐसा संत देखा है मैंने। ऐसे संत होते हैं आप जैसे जो भगवा वस्त्र पहनकर झूठ बोलते हैं। आपका बोर्ड नहीं है वहाँ पे, आपके बोर्ड ने प्रस्ताव नहीं लिया, बोल दो आप यहाँ पे। यदि बोर्ड ने प्रस्ताव नहीं लिया,
प्रस्ताव मंदिर तोड़ने का नहीं किया है, बोर्ड ने प्रस्ताव गौरव मंच बनाने का किया है, लेकिन आपकी सरकार ने जो काम किया है वो लगातार आप कर रहे हो, उसको प्रमाणित कर रहे हो। आप
आपके बोर्ड
आप उसको जोधपुर में प्रमाणित कर रहे हो, आप अपने कार्यक्रमों में प्रमाणित कर रहे हो, लगातार प्रमाणित कर रहे हो। आप लगातार प्रमाणित कर रहे हो कि आप तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति करते हैं और उसको करते रहेंगे। आप तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति करते हैं और करते रहेंगे, इसको लगातार प्रमाणित कर रहे हो आप। उसी का फल है कि वहाँ पर मंदिरों को जिस भावना से तोड़ा गया है, अपमानित भावना से आपने लज्जित किया है हिंदू समाज को।
जो सच का साथ देते हैं, कांग्रेस गलती करेगी तो कांग्रेस को
आपने तो कभी 70 सालों में भगवान राम का मंदिर बनाने का कार्य नहीं किया। आपने तो कभी कार्य किया ही नहीं।
एक सवाल पूछ लूं बालकनाथ जी, अगर गहलोत सरकार के एक मंत्री कहते हैं कि हम वहां पे मंदिर बनाएंगे और बनाने के लिए तैयार हैं, तो इस बात से क्या आप संतुष्ट नहीं है? क्योंकि ये भी तो आपकी एक मांग है ना।
देखो मैम, बात ये है मंदिर तो बनेगा, ये नहीं बनाएंगे तो हम
ये तो कह रहे हैं कि ये
समाज और हिंदू समाज मिलकर बनाएगा। वो कोई बात ये कि जिस प्रकार से ये लगातार ये कार्यक्रमों को प्रसारित कर रहे हैं राजस्थान सरकार, और जिस प्रकार की तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति को राजस्थान सरकार बढ़ावा दे रही है, और हमारे राजस्थान के मुख्यमंत्री इस प्रकार से लगातार एक टीपा टोपरी का कार्यक्रम अपने फेसबुक के माध्यम से चलाते हैं, ट्विटर के माध्यम से चलाते हैं। ये कार्यक्रम राजस्थान में बंद होने चाहिए और राजस्थान की सरकार राजस्थान की 7 करोड़ से अधिक जनता के कल्याण का काम करे, न कि एक विशेष समाज के लोगों के कल्याण का काम करे।
नहीं बालकनाथ जी, मेरा सवाल आपसे सीधा ये है, अमित कचारिया में अभी आप एक मिनट, हाँ मैं आप जवाब दे दीजिएगा। बालकनाथ जी, इनका कहना है साफ साफ कि जो भी हो, जिससे भी गलती हो, लेकिन अब हम लोग मंदिर बनाने के लिए तैयार हैं। क्या आप इस बात से संतुष्ट हैं? क्या आप लोग सब मिलके बनाएंगे मंदिर?
तो देखो हमारी मांग थी, सरकार को बनाना ही पड़ेगा, और सरकार ने तो सालासर दरबार भी गिराया था, उस समय भी बनाया, उस समय भी इन्होंने आरोप NHAI पर लगाए थे। आप पूछ लो, मंत्री जी बैठे यहाँ पर, उस समय भी आरोप NHAI पे लगाए थे। NHAI पे जो स्पष्टीकरण दिया तो सरकार चुप हो गई, क्योंकि वो भी इनके कार्य क्षेत्र में ही आता था। तो ये सरकार केवल आरोपों को एक दूसरे पर लगाने का कार्य करती है। ये सरकार काम बंदूक खुद चलाती है, कंधों को दूसरे का इस्तेमाल करती है।
अब आप भले ही कहो कि बोर्ड में उनके मेंबर्स हैं, ये इलाका उनका है, लेकिन सरकार आपकी है, और ये कहना कि हम बिल्कुल ही जिम्मेदार नहीं हैं, हम आंख बंद करके सब होने देंगे, क्या आपको नहीं लगता ये भी गलत है?
आपके बीजेपी के प्रवक्ता बनने से मैडम
ये गलत बात है ना, ये फिर गलत बात हुआ ना। फिर आपसे मैं सवाल पूछ रही हूँ, वैसे ही जवाब दीजिए।
लोगों का मीडिया से भरोसा उठ जाएगा।
आपसे
दिन भर
देखिए
बीजेपी करते रहते हैं मीडिया वाले भी। थैंक यू मैडम। और बोलिए बीजेपी के
मिस्टर कचारिया, ये बहुत ही गलत बात है आपका कहना। आपसे अगर सवाल पूछे तो आप उल्टा आरोप मीडिया पे लगाते हो, ये बिल्कुल ही गलत है। अगर मैं बालकनाथ जी से भी सवाल पूछती हूँ तो आपसे क्यों नहीं पूछ सकती मैं? मुझे आप ये बात बताइए।
देश के बनिए, तिरंगे के बनिए, समाज के दर्पण बनकर सच्चाई सुनाइए।
देखिए, आपके दुश्मन मीडिया नहीं है, आप चुनाव के लिए। कचारिया जी, क्या आप मेरे सवाल का जवाब देना चाहते हो या नहीं? कचारिया जी, तो आप ये कहते हो कि राज्य सरकार बिल्कुल ही जिम्मेदार नहीं है?
बीजेपी ने तोड़ा। आप कह रहे सरकार क्या कर रही है? सरकार मंदिर बनाएगी दोबारा, लोग बोर्ड को बर्खास्त कर रही है, सरकार ने अधिकारियों के खिलाफ कार्रवाई कर दी। ये सब काम हम करेंगे।
अच्छा, बीजेपी की मांग ये भी है, ओके, दैट्स मिस्टर कचारिया हु इज ऑफ कोर्स गॉट। बालानाथ जी, अब इनका कहना ये है कि हम अब मंदिर बनाने के लिए तैयार है, गलती हमारी नहीं थी। तो क्या मामला यहाँ खत्म नहीं होना चाहिए कि आपके और कोई मांग है? We seem to have lost connection with both of them, but Bhavani I think is still with us. If Bhavani, okay, राजेंद्र जी हमारे साथ है। राजेंद्र जी, आपने सुना ही होगा कि दोनों पक्षों का क्या कहना है। अगर राज्य सरकार कहती है कि हम मंदिर बनाने के लिए तैयार है, जो भी उनका कारण हो, अगर वो देखते हैं कि इसमें उनका नुकसान हो रहा है, जिस तरह से हिंदू ग्रुप्स वहां जा रहे हैं, उनकी छवि ये बनाई जा रही है कि वो एंटी हिंदू विरोधी है, क्या आपको लगता है मंदिर बनने से मामला शांत हो जाएगा या 1.5 साल तक कोई ना कोई मुद्दा उठ रहा है, उठता रहेगा और अशोक गहलोत के बारे में ये कहा जाएगा कि वो एबल एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर नहीं है, जिसका दावा कांग्रेस करती है? Okay, I'm going to try and connect back to Rajendra Sharma, who is my colleague who's on the ground in Alwar. You can see those pictures from every angle in Alwar, and this is outside the DM's office. Remember, the SDM has already been suspended. 2-3 officials have already been transferred. The whole incident was triggered off when a 300-year-old temple, Shiv temple, has been demolished. This, of course, is a part of a larger master plan. The whole proposal was to build what is called a Gaurav Path, and according to a Congress government and the Congress party, it was a proposal which was made by the then Chief Minister Vasundhara Raje Scindia. In fact, in that particular area where the temple was raised and the shops and some of the homes surrounding it were raised was actually in an area which is under the BJP control, and in fact the board also is dominated by the BJP. Anshul, I'm sure you heard the tutu meme which was going on between the BJP and the Congress party. There's also talk not just of the temple having been demolished, but also what the BJP calling selective targeting of some of the houses and some of the shops. You think this entire issue is now taking a polarization turn?
So yes, the parties have been trying to polarize the issue, but the issue is very, very simple, and both the parties, be it the Congress and the BJP, are to be blamed for the kind of demolition drive that took place. Because in the state there is a development board which is constituted, which takes such decisions of which are the areas that are to be worked upon for the development to reach those people. And this development board consists of the local councillors as well as the PWD department, which comes under the state government, and also the local MLA. All of these people have to sign, after which the development board takes the work forward. So yes, we know that the councillors belong to the BJP. 34 out of the 35 councillors belong to the BJP, whereas the PWD department comes under the Congress government. And also the local MLA of that area is also from the Congress. So yes, all these people have to first go ahead and sign, after which such a demolition drive took place. The main issue with the people is that they say that they did not get the time to actually respond to the notices that were given to them. Few of the people who had received the notices had received these notices just 7 days ago, and the last week, if you remember, was a long weekend, which meant that almost for 5 days the DM was not available of the local area, which meant that these people could not go and meet the DM with their grievances. So yes, this is what the people were complaining, that we did not get the time to respond. And some of these houses in this area are as old as 150 to 200 years old. So these people say that we are ancestrally, we have been living here for many, many years. How come suddenly one day the local administration finds out that all this is illegal construction, and they come out and demolish it in such a haphazard way that people didn't even get a chance to respond. I also saw a very old lady in that area was stuck on her roof, and she did not even get the time to come down from her roof because the stairs of a house were demolished by the local administration. So this is the manner in which the demolition drive was carried out, and hence the people were very, very angry because of the kind of situation that has erupted after it. There is very less water supply. The water pipes have been broken, electricity lines have been broken down. So yes, people in that area whose houses have been demolished, it is now a battle for survival for them. And yet it remains to be seen if the administration can finally get up from this petty politics and actually help these people who are in dire need of help right now.
Okay, Anshul, do hold on. We also have plenty of reactions coming in from the ground. Let's listen into them.
जिस तरह से गहलोत सरकार हिंदू आस्था पर जिस तरह से कुटाराघात कर रही है, इसको हम कभी नहीं सहन करेंगे।
गहलोत तेरी तानाशाही हिंदू भारत रहने वाले बिल्कुल नहीं सहेंगे, नहीं तो गहलोत तेरी अच्छी नहीं होगी। 2023 में आपको बता देंगे हम
सब संगठन के कार्यकर्ताओं की यही एक मांग है कि सरकार हिंदुओं को दबाने, हिंदुओं को कुचलने संबंधी जो कार्य कर रही है उनको बंद करे और हिंदुओं के स्वाभिमान को जागृत बचाए रखे।
उन्होंने जो 300 साल पुराना मंदिर तोड़ा है यहाँ पे कांग्रेसी सरकार ने, उसके खिलाफ हम एक ज्ञापन देने आए हैं और जो ये हिंदुओं की आस्था के ऊपर इन्होंने जो वार किया है उसके खिलाफ हम यहाँ पे सारे इकट्ठा हुए हैं।
Now, Anshul is still with us. So, Anshul, you know, the state government says, and we did speak to the cabinet minister a short while back, says we are ready to build a temple. Is it just only about the temple, or is it also about the livelihood of the people living in and around the area? Because, you know, it's not just a temple, but also some of the shops and some of the homes have also been razed.
So yes, the local administration has been saying that they are ready to rebuild the temple, but at a different location. So the people who are talking about the temple are now saying that what was the need to demolish this temple if you are demolishing such an old 300-year-old temple, which is said to be a 300-year-old temple. If you are demolishing such a temple, you are actually attacking the heritage and history of the Hindus in that area who have been living there for many, many years and many, many generations now. So yes, the local administration has been saying that we will build a temple, but at a different location. But the people on the ground are actually not happy with this. Secondly, talking about the livelihoods of the people, there were many people whose only source of income was a small shop in front of their houses, and these shops were also not very big very big shops, but really very small houses, shops. And from each shop, at least 10 to 15 people were living dependent on each and every shop. So now, since these shops have been demolished, the people have been absolutely left in a limbo. They have nowhere to go. They do not have a fixed source of income from there they could earn and go ahead with their family things. So yes, people on the ground are facing issues, and now they're absolutely dependent on the help that is coming from the side of the government. So yes, it remains to be seen how does things pan out, and if the protest that is being carried out today actually remains peaceful, because on the ground is what I sense that people on the ground were actually really very angry by the kind of demolition drive that has happened there in Rajgarh, which is around 40 kilometers from the town of Alwar.
Yeah, and this, you know, when we've been speaking to the people over there, we spoke to a cabinet minister also a short while back. He says that the entire area, the board which it comes under, is actually dominated by the BJP, and therefore the chief minister was completely unaware. Is that the sense you got from the ground? Are the people on the ground willing to give that clean sheet to a state government? I mean, after all, they are the party which is in power. They cannot perhaps absolve themselves by saying, oh, we were not aware of what was happening.
No, absolutely not. So the people on the ground, when they went ahead to meet the local MLA which belonged to the Congress, they went and asked him to stop the demolition drive. He went ahead and said on record that you get me the 34 councillors that you have given to BJP, and I'll stop this demolition drive. So all this case that comes out, it seems to be a case of really petty politics, where people have been targeted just for not voting for a particular party. So this is what is the sense that people on the ground are also feeling. They are really very angry, and they say that all the issues that we are facing is because of the local politics that has been happening over here. And since the area is said to be dominated by some other party, so the people from the other party are now targeting the people over here. This is the sense that people on the ground are also saying. करने देंगे।
Okay, thank you very much, Anshul, for putting that into perspective. Certainly, snowballing into a huge issue much ahead of the Rajasthan elections, even though it's a year and a half away. Well, let's go and focus down south, which is on the TRS, which is, in fact, today happens to be the foundation day of the Telangana Rashtriya Samiti. Let's listen in to what K. Kavita, the TRS MLC and also the daughter of the Chief Minister KCR, had to say.
Today is the 21st anniversary of TRS party. I would like to congratulate all our leaders and cadre and also thank the people of Telangana who've blessed TRS party throughout these 21 years and have supported us in times of difficulty, and also when the state was formed in crucial times. Telangana people's support was immense for the party. We thank them for that. Now, after the formation of Telangana also, he tirelessly and relentlessly works for the people of Telangana. That we see in the development of the state today. We're competing with Punjab in agriculture production, we're competing with Bangalore in IT exports. So that way our policies have been wholesome, comprehensive, and the vision of the leader has been very great, and the support of the party leaders and cadre has been wonderful. So today is the 21st anniversary. We are very happy that we could form a political party, we could bring change into the people of Telangana's life, and we can today showcase this state to the country as one of the most fastest developing state in this country.
To hell and back over the last few weeks. Somebody else who's been to hell and back, Novak Djokovic, will finally be allowed to defend his title at Wimbledon despite not being vaccinated against COVID. That's because the shots are not required to enter Britain. The tennis world number one missed the Australian Open in January after being deported from that country because he was not vaccinated. Days after Elon Musk's offer to Twitter, the board has accepted the $44 billion deal. The Tesla CEO has said that he wanted Twitter to live up to its potential as a free speech platform. The deal is likely to close at the end of the year, subject to the approval of the company's shareholders. Once that deal goes through, here's what is likely to change at Twitter. Musk, for example, has pledged to focus on free speech. He calls himself a free speech absolutist, as well as restrict any form of content moderation, which means that previously banned users like Donald Trump might probably make a comeback on Twitter. The Tesla CEO has also promised to make the algorithm open source so that users know how the code works and how the code restricts the kind of content that it does. Musk also recently had promised in a tweet that he would defeat bots. He would also ensure that all humans are authenticated with a blue tick mark. Will Musk's takeover be good for Twitter? Well, let's compare Tesla's rise over the last 10 years or so with that of Twitter. Now, Tesla is a $1 trillion company. The offer that's been made for Twitter is $44 billion. So it's a minuscule, it's a drop in the ocean. Tesla, the share was worth $4.92 in 2011. Today, it's almost $1,000. Twitter was $26 worth in 2013. It's gone up just to $40 right now, so in the last 10 years. If you were to look at the net income, Tesla is at $3 billion in Q4 of 2021. Twitter made just $1.57 billion in the Q4 of 2021. It's a mid-air stunt that's gone wrong in a heart-stopping video. Two pilots attempted a mid-air plane swap, but things didn't go quite according to plan. One of the two aircrafts involved spiraled out of control. It crash-landed. This happened in Arizona in the United States. Thankfully, the skydivers are safe and no injuries have been reported.
The pavement in city's Sanjay Nagar area. He stepped on a loose.
Some unfortunate news coming in, and this is down south in Chennai, where there's a fire at a Rajiv Gandhi Government Hospital. You can see those pictures right up on your screens. We're waiting for some more details to come in and for Purnima to join us. But the fire brigade is already there at the spot trying to extinguish the fire. But this is the Rajiv Gandhi Hospital right in the heart of Chennai. You can already see those fire services people there. Okay, Purnima is with us. Purnima, can you just give us an update? How did the fire break out? Is it under control now?
Well, the fire is under control. The fire erupted from a storage space that was meant for face masks and oxygen cylinders in Rajiv Gandhi Hospital. And a fire erupted from the storage space there. No patients have been impacted. A minor lockout at the government hospital. And at the moment, things have returned to normalcy. Is what we can see.
And Purnima, any idea of the kind of patients who were there, the number of patients admitted over there? Is there was an OPD in place where, there were walk-in patients also coming in?
Well, where the fire broke out was a storage space, which is why our patients were not impacted. But overall in Rajiv Gandhi Hospital, there have been patients, especially now with a slow increase in the number of COVID cases. We've seen how the beds are getting full, but where the fire erupted was a storage space, and therefore no patients were impacted because it was just a storage space that was meant for face masks and oxygen cylinders. Therefore, no one impacted, and the fire has been brought under control.
Okay, and Purnima, I know it's still too early yet, but as an investigation, okay, let's get some more reactions first from the people who were there at the spot, and then I go back to Purnima.
Support so that workers can work. Thank you.
So Purnima, yeah, that's the same question. I know it's still early yet, but has any investigation been ordered? Were the fire safety norms in place? Even though it may have been a storage pit, but that one can't be sure that the fire hasn't spread.
Well, investigation is on. In fact, the health department is looking into what led to the fire erupting in the storage space. Therefore, preliminary investigations are on. However, at the moment, things are under control and no patients have been impacted. But yes, the investigation has begun to see what really happened. Considering that it's a government hospital, though it was a storage space where the norms followed, that's something that is being investigated as we speak.
Okay, and well, we can see those pictures, which is at the Rajiv Gandhi Hospital, where Purnima is also reporting from. And according to Purnima, the fire is now under control. It was in a storage pit, and therefore no immediate danger as far as the patients are concerned. But every time this kind of a fire breaks out, not just in Chennai, but across the country, especially in hospitals, the same question: are our hospitals safe as far as the fire safety norms are concerned? Can you break that down for us? What are the fire safety norms which are put down by the state government? Do the hospitals actually follow it?
Well, the basic safety norms have been followed in government hospitals to ensure that there are fire extinguishers in the hospital, and especially outside the ICU, outside the emergency wards. However, this incident now brings us to question if things were in place, if the fire safety norms are in place in a hospital like Rajiv Gandhi, which is one of the biggest hospitals in Tamil Nadu. Therefore, that is why the investigation is on to see if what led to the accident, and if the norms were in place, and if the fire extinguishers in the storage space have been outdated. Therefore, this is the first incident that has been reported in the recent past. Therefore, now safety norms are being looked at and see if the hospital is following these safety norms or not. That is now being investigated after the incident came to light, even though things are under control at this point.
Purnima, I can see the pictures of the oxygen cylinders. Now, that is scary and alarming because they are highly combustible. They are the ones who can trigger off any fire. Are proper storage facilities, those standards maintained when you store, for example, oxygen cylinders?
Well, it is still unclear as to how many oxygen cylinders were there, because that was a storage space meant for storing face masks and oxygen cylinders. But how many oxygen cylinders were there and how really the fire erupted, that is now being investigated. So there is still no clarity in terms of what happened and what norms were not followed, because this is one of the first incidents that has come to light in the recent past. Therefore, investigation is on, and at the moment things are still unclear. We'll have to wait for things to be investigated to see what norms were not followed and what led to the fire erupting in the storage space in a government hospital in Chennai.
All right. Thank you very, very much, Purnima, for getting us those details. But thankfully, no patient has been injured. The fire was at a storage pit. We're going to shift our focus back to Rajasthan, where there is huge Hindu groups have gathered on the streets. And this is after a 300-year-old Hindu temple was demolished in the name of encroachment and implementing what the state government calls a master plan. Now, Hindu groups have taken a march from Shahid Smarak, which is in Alwar, to the collectorate's office, claiming that the state government action was selective and how the Congress government over there was clearly anti-Hindu. The protesting groups now demanding a reconstruction of the temple and also that the chief minister must resign. However, the Congress has hit back by saying that it was a BJP-led municipal corporation which had actually given the go-ahead for the razing and for the bulldozer action, and the Gehlot government, of course, is ready to reconstruct the temple. We're going to go back to Anshul in a bit, but when I was speaking to a cabinet minister, in fact, when we were speaking to the leaders over there a short while back, this is what they had to say.
मैं सोचता हूँ कि कांग्रेस की मानसिकता में हिंदू धार्मिक भावनाओं को आहत करना एक आदत सी बन गई है। मैं सोचता हूँ कि ये अगर इतना पुराना वहाँ मंदिर है और सड़क चोरी करने के बीच में आ रहा है तो उसके साइड से भी निकाला जा सकता, वहाँ पर्याप्त जगह थी। न किसी को कोई जानकारी, न किसी ने, नहीं, केवल उसको एक तरह से आहत करने वाला घटना के रूप में सोचता है। अगर इसी सड़क के अंदर किसी एक कब्र भी बनी हुई होती तो इन बहादुर लोगों की कभी जिंदगी में हिम्मत नहीं होती है कि उसको कभी उखाड़ा जाए। मैं सोचता हूँ कि ये जो इनका देखने का नजरिया है यही विद्वेषता पैदा कर रहा है। समानता का बर्ताव करे तो हर आदमी अपने आप को भी एडजस्ट करने का प्रयत्न करता है।
Okay, so for the BJP, this becomes a big issue and targeting not just Ashok Gehlot, but also the Congress party even at the national level. Anshul, you know, I can see those huge crowds which are outside the collectorate office. Obviously, this is a march to show that the Congress does not have any aastha in Hinduism or Hindu faith. You think the issue is not just going to be about faith and religion, but also about livelihood? Is that what you picked up from the ground when you were reporting from there?
So yes, Pallavi, the real issue on the ground is of the livelihoods of the people. Yes, few people are angry because of kind of scenes that they saw unfolding in front of them when the 300-year-old temple was demolished and the shivling was disincarnated through machines in front of those people themselves. So yes, a few people are angry because of those, but the real issue on the ground on which the people are actually very, very tensed and very, very angry is that their livelihoods have been absolutely lost. Their houses, which they managed to build these houses through generations of hard work, those houses have been broken down suddenly. The only source of livelihood, which used to be a small shop outside their house, those shops have been broken down. And now, since the demolition drive has happened, the people living there are actually living in really miserable conditions. Where as you can imagine, since the demolition drive happened just right outside their houses, so the water pipelines have also been dug out, which means that their houses have been absolutely getting no water for the past 3 to 4 days or probably 1 week now. So yes, people on the ground are actually angry. They are demanding from the government. Rebuilding the temple is an issue, and the temple should be rebuilt is what the people feel on the ground. But yes, there a more aggressive issue that the people on the ground are actually raising up is that they should be compensated for the kind of demolition that has happened in their area, and all their lives and livelihoods have now been badly affected. So yes, people are now just thinking that something out of the blue will happen, and they can actually get the deserved compensation that they need to make sure that the life can finally get back on track.
Okay, Anshul, do hold on, because I'm just going to do a quick recap of what exactly the issue is all about. Basically, what we are seeing on our screens are Hindu groups who've marched on to the electorate's office in Alwar, and the point that they're making is two: one, the temple must be rebuilt, and second, the Gehlot government needs to step down. They're calling the Congress government and Congress party as anti-Hindu, and this is after a 300-year-old Hindu temple was razed. Remember, there's a master plan, there's a Gaurav Path which we are talking about, And the Congress party and the Congress government is saying that Gaurav Path was something which was given a go-ahead by the then Chief Minister Vasundhara Raje Scindia, and the corporation on the board under which this area falls is dominated by the BJP. But the BJP, the VHP, the Hindu groups are making the point that it's just not possible that the Chief Minister or the state government was unaware of the fact that there was a 300-year-old Shiv temple. Now we are seeing the Hindu groups which are marching from Shaheed Smarak to the collectorate, demanding that the state action was selective and anti-Hindu. So Anshul, despite the fact that the state government is saying, okay, I'm going to go to Bhavani. Bhavani, अभी हम लोगों ने बातचीत की, वहाँ के जो कैबिनेट मंत्री हैं मिस्टर कचारिया, उनका कहना ये है कि मैं वादा करता हूँ कि हम लोग वहाँ पे मंदिर बनाएंगे, लेकिन बीजेपी वीएचपी का कहना ये है कि सिर्फ वो काफ़ी नहीं होगा, अशोक गहलोत को माफ़ी मांगनी चाहिए और उनको भी इस्तीफा देनी चाहिए। क्या आपको लगता है राजनीतिक तौर पे ये हो सकता है? क्या कांग्रेस पार्टी सोच सकती है कि चलो अभी 1.5 साल बाकी हैं, हम अशोक गहलोत को हटा देते हैं, एक नया चेहरा ले आते हैं और ये मामला फिर दब जाएगा?
देखिए बल्ली, ये कांग्रेस के अंदर और खासतौर पर जो अशोक गहलोत कैंप है वो ये मंदिर का जब से शुरू हुआ तब से काफ़ी परेशान है। और इस बीच में आपको है कि प्रशांत किशोर भले ही कांग्रेस में नहीं आए, लेकिन जो प्लान दिया था उसमें राजस्थान को लेकर भी जिस तरीके का था कि एक चेहरा चेंज कर दिया जाए, सचिन पायलट को लाया जाए कि युवा चेहरे का अलग फायदा होगा, सचिन पायलट का जो क्लाउड है उसका फायदा मिलेगा। लेकिन जो सबसे बड़ी चुनौती है अशोक गहलोत की जो छवि बनती जा रही है, वो कांग्रेस के लिए राजस्थान के अंदर सबसे बड़ी चिंता का सबब बनता जा रहा है। ये पहला इंसिडेंट नहीं है, तकरीबन ये 6वां या 7वां है पिछले 2 महीने में जब इस तरीके के कई सारे ऐसे वाक्य हुए। देखो अब आप जैसे आप कहेंगे राम द्वार तोड़ा गया शुरू के अंदर, उसके बाद में अशोक गहलोत सरकार ने एक ऑर्डर निकाला था जिसमें कहा था कि जो रमजान के अंदर मुस्लिम इलाकों के अंदर बिजली कटौती नहीं होगी, उसको लेकर के उस टाइम नवरात्रि भी चल रही थी, उसको लेकर सरकार की काफी आलोचना हुई थी और बीजेपी ने इसको इशू बनाया था कि किस तरीके से मुस्लिम अपीजमेंट की बात हो रही है। ऐसे कई सारे इश्यूज आए और फिर उसके बाद में अभी अशोक गहलोत ने अपने घर पर जो इफ्तियार पार्टी की है शनिवार को, जिसमें इफ्तियार पार्टी में जो छबड़ा के जो दंगे हुए थे वहां पर हिंदुओं की सौंप तोड़ी थी, वो दंगाई उस पार्टी के अंदर, इफ्तियार पार्टी के अंदर था, उसको लेकर सवाल बीजेपी ने टारगेट किया। तो बीजेपी लगातार इस बात पर टारगेट कर रही है, अशोक गहलोत को हिंदू विरोधी बताने की कोशिश की जा रही है और यही कांग्रेस के लिए सबसे बड़े चिंता का सबब है, क्योंकि अगर आप कोई किसी भी इलेक्शन का जो एजेंडा सेट होता वो तकरीबन।
और भवानी जो आप कह रहे हो, ये काबिल एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर या काबिल मुख्यमंत्री, इस बात का दावा हमेशा से अशोक गहलोत और कांग्रेस पार्टी भी करती आ रही है और यही कारण था कि शायद गहलोत को मुख्यमंत्री बनाया गया था। बहुत सारे कारण थे, पर मुझे एक कारण ये भी था कि एक आयरन ग्रिप मुख्यमंत्री हैं और वो काफ़ी श्रूड हैं, शातिर भी हैं, अच्छी राजनीति बहुत अच्छी तरह से समझते हैं। लेकिन ऐसे में जैसे आप कह रहे हो ना, करौली वाला मामला, चाहे वो रेप के मामले थे 1-2, और अभी ये शिव मंदिर जो बुलडोज किया गया, क्या ये एक नैरेटिव बिल्डअप होता जाता है जिसका फायदा बीजेपी को भी होगा और जो गहलोत के विरोधी है कांग्रेस के अंदर उनको भी होगा कि देखिए अशोक गहलोत अब मुख्यमंत्री रहेंगे तो और कांग्रेस पार्टी को नुकसान होता जाएगा?
देखिए बिल्कुल, और ये लगातार अशोक गहलोत के खिलाफ जो गहलोत विरोधी कैंप है वो लगातार यही इशू बनाता जा रहा है कि बीजेपी के सामने अशोक गहलोत मुकाबला नहीं कर पाएंगे। अशोक गहलोत की छवि दोनों इशू पे, आपने जो रैप के इश्यूज की बात की, जो लॉ एंड ऑर्डर का इशू है वो भी राजस्थान के अंदर बड़ा इशू है। अब देखिए दौसा के अंदर कल ही एक महिला का अपहरण हुआ, उसके साथ गैंगरेप हुआ, उसको कुएं के अंदर फेंक दिया गया। आज ही एक घटना आई है भरतपुर के अंदर, जहाँ जो मेवात का इलाका वहां पर एक महिला ने एलिगेशन लगाया कि उसका किडनैप हुआ, फिर उसके साथ में रैप किया और उसका धर्म परिवर्तन कराने की कोशिश की गई है। तमाम ऐसे एक सीरीज शुरू हो चुकी है, चाहे लॉ एंड ऑर्डर की बात करो, चाहे फिर ये ऐसे इश्यू आ रहे हैं जो धर्म से जुड़े हुए धार्मिक मसले हैं, काफी सेंसिटिव है, उसको लेकर अशोक गहलोत लगातार गिरते जा रहे हैं। और अशोक गहलोत के सामने आप देखिए कि खुद होम मिनिस्टर हैं, उसके बावजूद भी वो इन चीजों को कंट्रोल नहीं कर पा रहे। एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन राजस्थान में देखा जाए तो सिंगल पॉइंट मैन है राजस्थान के अंदर जो अशोक गहलोत खुद डील करते हैं। आप फाइनेंस उनके पास में, होम उनके पास में, सारे बड़े महकमे उनके पास में, जीएडी उनके पास है, जो डील करने वाली अथॉरिटी वो खुद चीफ मिनिस्टर है। उसके बावजूद भी राजस्थान के अंदर ऐसा लग रहा है कि शायद अशोक गहलोत इन इश्यू से निपटने के अंदर अभी लगता है कि उनको सफलता मिल नहीं पा रही है।
जी बिल्कुल। भवानी, थैंक यू वेरी मच। इनफैक्ट आप बने रहिए। मैंने थोड़ी देर पहले हम लोगों ने बातचीत भी की थी राजस्थान के जो कैबिनेट मंत्री हैं मिस्टर कचारिया और बीएचपी के साथ भी, जो अलवर के सांसद हैं। Let's listen into what they had to say about this entire incident.
देखिए, भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने खुद ने मंदिर तोड़ा है। बीजेपी के बोर्ड ने प्रस्ताव लेकर वहाँ मंदिर तोड़ दिया, दुकान तोड़ दी, मकान तोड़ दिए।
उन्होंने कैसे तोड़ा? आप तो आपकी सरकार की है ना अभी वहाँ पे।
मैं बिल्कुल वही बोल रहा हूँ, आप सुनेंगी पूरी बात तो समझ में आएगा ना। सरकार हमारी है, नीचे बोर्ड उनका है। नगर पालिका में बोर्ड में बीजेपी का बहुमत है, 35 पार्षद उनके जीते, एक चेयरमैन बना। उनको पूरे अधिकार होते हैं नगर पालिका में काम करने के। वहां पर सिर्फ एक पार्षद हमारा जीता हुआ है। एमएलए को उन्होंने मीटिंग में बुलाया नहीं और प्रस्ताव लेकर और वहां पर उन्होंने मंदिर तोड़ दिए, दुकान तोड़ दी, मकान तोड़ दिए। इसीलिए बोर्ड के खिलाफ हमने प्रस्ताव लिया और प्रस्ताव लेकर हमने एसडीएम और वहां पे जो ईओ है उसको भी हमने सस्पेंड किया और हमने ये कहा कि ये मंदिर हम दोबारा बनाएंगे। राजगढ़ में जब ये गए तो इनके बाबा बालकनाथ को महिलाओं ने चूड़ी पहना दी, वहां से बीजेपी के लोगों को भगा दिया।
Okay, now we have our guests this afternoon joining us. Rakhi Rathore is with us, spokesperson Rajasthan BJP, Sriraj Nair, who is a spokesperson BHP, Ravi Srivastava, who is a political analyst. Thank you very much for joining us. My first question to you, actually, to Rakhi Rathore, when the Congress party and the cabinet minister says कि हम मंदिर बनाने के लिए तैयार हैं, तो फिर you don't think this chapter can be closed now? Wait for the Congress government to build the temple?
Actually, there are series of problems, series of incidences which indicates that they want to play their communal card only. So this is another incident which has happened in Rajasthan. Right now, I have heard our minister saying that BJP ke logon ne toda hai mandir. I just want to convey him that according to Section 241 of Rajasthan Municipal Act, before removing any statue or idol, they have to take permission from the local administration or collector. So it is not possible that without the acceptance of state government, this all happened. And look at the way that it happened. I can understand that whenever there is a development work and you have to remove a temple or a religious place, there is a proper process for that. We Hindu believe that there are pran hai unme, hum aisa believe karte hain, but destroying with a hammer machine, this is not acceptable, and this is the reaction which we are getting from the common people, the Hindu people of Rajasthan, because there are series of incidences. I just want to ask why they left one Muslim shops untouched during the whole process in Alwar Rajgarh. So these all indicates that their intentions are very clear. They want to play the communal card, and their target is just to get the votes of Muslims, which they failed to get in UP during the assembly election. Okay. One incident more I just want to quote. During around a month back, Ram Dwara, there was a Ram Dwar in Salasar Balaji. It was demolished by the state agencies, but the government in assembly, the speaker put the blame on NHAI, central government, for demolishment of that gate. But actually, it was the state agency. He apologized in the in that assembly again. So these are the series of incidences which are happening. And what happened in Karoli is, we know everyone. Matloob, he is not in the arrest of, still he is out of the arrest of police. We can see in Iftar party, the main accused of Chabra, Royds were attending, he was attending the party in CM house. So these all indicates he was clicking pictures with the senior leaders of Congress Rajasthan. So these all indicates that everything is not well for Hindu community in Rajasthan.
Okay, and a word in from Mr. Nair. Mr. Nair, अभी यही जो बात अभी हम लोग कर रहे थे, and which Rakhi is also talking about, the fact is, according to the Congress, the board or the corporation is dominated by the BJP. The whole Gaurav Path was a part of the master plan which was given a go-ahead by the then Chief Minister Vasudha Raje Scindia. Therefore, to blame the present Congress government is wrong, and you're willfully actually polarizing it because that's what the BJP does. This is what Congress का कहना ये है. और अगर वो मंदिर बनाते हैं तो फिर क्या आप इस बात से संतुष्ट हैं?
See, first of all, we all know how Hindus have been treated by the Congress. this is the same party which even went ahead and said that Bhagwan Ram is a kalpanik or imaginary figure. They have been mocking, ridiculing Hindus for nearly 70 years now. And this is the only reason that they have been tasting defeat after defeat, election after election. Now, in this particular case in Rajasthan, the chief minister has broken all the records of the Islamic brutality which happened for the last 800 years in this, whether it is Mughals or Khiljis or Taimur. CM Ashok Gehlot ji has broken all the record of barbarism. He has turned a blind eye. It is not that he was unaware about this particular. Do you think a 300-year-old temple can be a matter of encroachment? Now, this is absolutely a joke to say that it is the BJP who demolished. Now they know the damage has been done. They are trying to cover it up. Nothing is going to happen. The Hindus know who the real perpetrators are, who the real people are who have demolished this temple. So they cannot try to fool the people. Now the only thing that can happen is they have to rebuild the temple. In fact, we even seek the removal of this barbaric, brutal.
So let me just get an overview of a political point of view. Mr. Ravi Srivastava is with us. You know, Mr. Srivastava, for all of us who watched Ashok Gehlot, the reason why he continues to remain one of the important leaders for the Congress party and his deep access to the Gandhis is because he's seen as someone who's astute, who's shrewd, who is also a good administrator. Do you think this time round, not just this incident, but a couple of other incidents also is building up to a counter narrative which could boomerang on the Congress party and give that edge to the BJP?
Pallavi, I don't see any such action happening. It is across the nation. This is BJP's sinister design. They are not doing it in Rajasthan alone. They have done it in Madhya Pradesh. They have done it in Gujarat. They are trying to do it in Karnataka. Whichever state is due for election in a year or year and a half, they are doing this kind of machinations just to polarize people, create once again the Hindu-Muslim divide and try to protect their vote bank. Now, as far as this Rajgarh incident is concerned, that particular BJP board only had decided. Vasundhara Raje had decided 3 years before, and they have not mentioned any word there in the resolution, the temple or a mosque or a shop or a home. They have written the road is to be widened. And as like everywhere, municipality does the demolition. Here also municipality did it. And as far as the state is concerned, I think they have already suspended their SDM and they have already transferred the people who are responsible. And the only people who filed a FIR against this is the Congress. The BJP, if they feel that something illegal has happened, some wrongly houses have been demolished, why don't they go to court? Why instead of that Bhagwa flag and start again a Shobha Yatra? What the purpose will be served with that? If they want that people should get justice, people should get compensation, people get their houses built again, they should go to court.
No, but Mr. Srivastava, don't you think that in an election year, almost an election year, because it's almost a year and a half away and it's not too far away, but don't you think perhaps the Congress government over there could have been little politically more alert and astute and do a damage control well in time?
Absolutely. You see, here also the demolition happened on 18th of April. But till 23rd, nobody in the country knew that there's a kind of a demolition happened. It is deliberate, purposeful, just to polarize people. The story has been built up. There is nothing like that. The demolition had happened 5 days before and the due notices were served to the people.
Okay.
It is not that they were caught unawares.
So
they knew that they have encroachments, they have extended their houses, they have built it on a land which is the public land.
Okay, so Rakhi, would you want to react to that? Rakhi, would you want to react to what Mr. Shah? Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to ask Mr. Ravi Shankar why there was a need of suspension of the SDM and EO from the state government. Have you read about the section 241 of Rajasthan Municipality Act? Municipality, it is all governed by that act only, and that act clearly states that before removing or demolishment of any kind of religious place, they have to take permission from the state government. The first thing is that. The second point is, The proposal which was sanctioned from the municipality.
Let her talk.
Let me complete.
Mr. Srivastava, please let her complete.
The proposal,
No,
you
Mr.
have not
Srivastava.
gone through what has done in Rajasthan. I know the position, what has happened there, because the proposal which was sanctioned by the municipality was to reduce the width of the road from 60 feet to 30 feet. It's not like that they want to do it. And look at the way it was done. It was done by the administration, and suspension of the officers, state officers, clearly indicates that state government, without state government's permission, it cannot happen.
Madam,
State government is totally
Mr.
responsible.
Srivastava,
We have not
Mr. Srivastava, 1 minute. Rakhi, 1 minute. Wait, I'll just come back to both of you. I'll come back, in fact, to all three of you. There have been plenty of reactions from the ground, from Alwar, where those protests are happening. Let's listen to them, those voices, and then I'll come back to you.
मकसद यही है कि जिस प्रकार से तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति ये राजस्थान सरकार लगातार कर रही है, हिंदू समाज इसको बिल्कुल सहन नहीं करेगा। सरकार अपनी हरकतों से बाज आए। ज्ञापन की मांगे, जो हमारी मांगे पूर्व में थी कि जो भी अधिकारी हैं उनको सख्त से सख्त सजा दी जाए, मंदिर का पुनर्निर्माण करा जाए, और जिस प्रकार से हमारे अलवर के साथ में कठुम्बर में गौशाला को तोड़ा गया, उसका भी पुनर्निर्माण कराया जाए। करना पड़ेगा, गहलोत को भी सस्पेंड होना पड़ेगा, गहलोत को भी पद छोड़ना पड़ेगा।
Okay. So now, Mr. Nair, we've heard those voices on the ground. We've heard Mr. Srivastava. We've heard what Rakhi had to say. We've heard the defense coming in from the state government. What now? I mean, you can keep on attacking the state government, but the state government says they're going to build the temple. They'll keep on blaming the BJP. BJP will blame Congress. But what is the next step that you plan to take? Mr. Nair, if you can hear me.
Can I ask a question to the BJP?
No, Mr. Srivastava, dekhiye na, please, 1 minute. Let me get in a word from Mr. Nair first. It's fair. Then I'll come to you. Yes, Mr. Nair. What is it that now you want from the state government and from the Congress party? Because they've said that we are building the temple.
First of all, this heinous act is unforgivable.
Yes, but we are building a temple. That's also been one of your demands. So what more do you want from the BJP?
Our first demand is the temple should be rebuilt with immediate effect. Okay. The Honorable Chief Minister should seek an apology. And we also demand that it is a Congress anti-Hindu Congress High Command should sack the government, Congress CM of Rajasthan. This is unforgivable. As I said, the Mughals, I think when this temple was erected, the brutal Aurangzeb might be alive. He also couldn't do this. And Ashok Gehlot has turned a blind eye, and he has been a party for the demolition of this ancient temple. This is absolutely unforgivable.
You know, Mr. Srivastava, again, I'm coming back to the same question. The fact is that don't you think what is happening in Rajasthan could have a bearing on the Congress party's chances in other state elections? The immediate one which is coming up is in Gujarat, in Himachal, where the BJP is already talking about a uniform civil code. In Gujarat, yes, Astha, governance, all of them are going to become very important issues.
Exactly.
So, Mr. Srivastava,
that's the design which I was talking about. Uniform civil code, such things to bring and polarize people, to create a rift among the Hindu and Muslim, to destroy the fabric of the harmony. The point here is that Madam Vasundhara Raje, in her tenure, when Jaipur Metro was being built, 46 religious structures were demolished.
No. But Mr. Srivastava, you can keep on building. No, Mr. Srivastava, my question, I don't think you... Mr. Srivastava, Rakhi, 1 minute. Rakhi, please, 1 minute. Mr. Srivastava, I think my question was a little different. My question was looking beyond Rajasthan. If today we are looking at what is happening in Rajasthan, and I'm not talking just of the demolition of the 300-year-old temple, I'm talking about rape cases, I'm talking about the riots in Karoli. The fact is that don't you think this is going to have an impact on the Congress's chances in other state elections as well, Gujarat being one of them? Ashok Gehlot's close aide is in charge of Gujarat Congress.
The law and order situation across the country, there are some issues everywhere. But trying to color that particular episode with either a lower community, lower caste people getting tortured, or a lady getting, the assault or something like that. Such things don't happen in isolation. They do happen across the country everywhere. And it's a law and order issue. And I think the government will definitely act upon that. They have got examples where such things have happened and they have taken the strictest action on that. So they have proved it. It's not that Ashok Gehlot government has been sitting tight on such issues. They have been taking action.
So Raghi, to be fair, I'm just asking from the other point of view, to be fair and to be balanced, what more can the Chief Minister do? He's accepted that there should be a temple which needs to be built. He's of course facing the facts according to him on paper and on board his government is that this is something which was given a go-ahead during Vasundhara Raje's time and the corporation over there is headed by the BJP. What more could he have done?
Actually, I already told you the corporation don't have that kind of power to remove a religious place from one place to another place. First thing. The second thing is there are due process. Whenever you think that a religious place in front of any development work, you can shift that, but there's a due process for that, and they have not followed that process. And the Chief Minister should stop blaming BJP municipality for this because they don't have power to get that religious place shifted from one place to another place. As far as law and condition in Rajasthan is concerned, I think it is at the worst position right now. In NCRB, the maximum number of rape cases are registered in Rajasthan from last 2 years, and it is because of the no action taken by the Rajasthan government because they want to protect the criminals. You can have an idea of this by the point that a criminal have an access in CM house. You can imagine that how can we expect any arrest or any action from the state government because the criminals are protected from the state government and they are doing this communal the guard from last many days. Actually, this is not the first incidents. कई दिनों से हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि this kind of incidences are happening in Rajasthan, and this is the result by Hindu community are protesting on roads against this. You can say the Aurangzeb of Rajasthan.
Okay, fine. So obviously this is not going to be a controversy which is going to end anytime soon. But for now, thank you very much to all my guests this afternoon. We're going to shift focus now to down south in Karnataka. We're again ahead of the elections. There are already ripples being felt on many issues. And this one is now to do with a school in Bengaluru, which is the Clarence School, which has made it compulsory for the students to carry a Bible. Karnataka government has begun its crackdown on these schools, which aimed what according to them is enforce religious teaching. Now, speaking exclusively to CNN News 18, the State Education Minister B.C. Nagesh revealed that there are several schools which have actually come up solely for the purpose of conversion. These schools have been sent notices by the state government and action is going to be taken against them.
Sir, you have promised that authorities will be going and inspecting all Christian schools. When will this exercise begin?
We came to know this by some of the organizations. And when we saw the website, it was confirmed that they had insisted for the Bible, for the students to carry the Bible. And they are conducting exams in the Bible. So we have our BEO has given a notice to them according to the democratic procedure. We are expecting an early reply from them. After getting the reply, definitely we are going to take action.
Okay, tell me, sir, what is the initial assessment and are schools surreptitiously bringing in religion then?
According to the present situation, we feel that the schools were originally built to see that conversion can be made easy. Otherwise, why do they want to teach Bible there? Why do they want to make exams regarding Bible?
So you are essentially saying that these schools are carrying out conversion activities?
I'm not saying that schools were engaged in conversion activity, but originally, because the reply given by the school is that our school was started 103 years ago. Since then, we are using this Bible, and we have made compulsory for every student to study the Bible. Then the original purpose of the school to be started in Karnataka was, I think the purpose was conversion.
Okay, since you are saying that the original purpose was to initiate conversion, then what action will you be taking?
As I said that as a democratic procedure, we have given the notice. We are expecting the reply from the management. After getting the reply, definitely we will take appropriate action according to the law.
So there's more word coming in this particular incident in Bangalore. In fact, Architects has also gone into this entire debate saying that allegations against the school are false and misleading. The Christian body has said that no student is being forced to bring the Bible to school. Let me go across to my colleague Ritu. Ritu, so that's the clarification which comes in. What's the real picture? Are students actually being told to take the Bible? Because that denial now seems to be coming in after so much of controversy has raised.
Well, exactly. We also tried speaking to a few of the students, and they really clearly told us that the Bible is mandatory for them to carry. They also have exam to write on the Bible related questions for till class 9, and in the class 10 also they've been taught Bible lessons, but then they won't have any kind of exam, but they will be marked for the attendance in that way.
But is it a fact, I mean, you have of course spoken also to the school authorities, is it a fact that the students were asked to bring this Bible, but now there seems to be a rethink in the midst of the storm and action being taken against them or going to be taken against them by the state government?
Well, exactly. We also tried speaking to a few parents, and they were quite fine with it. They were saying that there were a few parents who said that, from past 10 years their kids are studying in that particular Clarence High School, and they had no objection related to this particular rule because they are completely aware about it, and the school has clearly made it clear to the parents that this is how their rule is, and if they are willing to admit their kids, they can, or if not, it's on their own choice. But then later point, you also had the principal saying that that's a law-abiding school and a peace-loving school, and they will look into it. They'll also seek a legal opinion on this particular matter so that they ensure that the law of the land is protected in that way.
And the fact that the state government has decided to take action against them, are there more schools which actually follow this norm, not just in Bengaluru but in other parts of Karnataka?
Now, once this complete Bible row came out from the Clarence High School, BC Nagesh, the education minister,
Okay, I'm going to have to interrupt you here, Ritu. I'm very sorry, but we've also got Mr. T.J. Abraham, who's the president of the Indian Christian United Forum, who's now joining us. Mr. Abraham, the state government says you cannot force religious beliefs on students or on anyone. You cannot force any student to bring Bible to school. Do you think, don't you agree with this?
See, where is the force to force on the children? Where was the force?
Well, they were told to bring the Bible to school.
Decision.
They made it compulsory.
See, now, Article 28(3) is very clear. In education institutions set up by Christian organizations or minority institutions, they have the right to propagate their religion. When you read the articles, you should start reading from 25 onwards up to 28. It's very, very clear that as an institution, for example, if it is a Muslim community which has set up an institution, they have the right to propagate their religion, and they will educate their students with the Quran. It's a Christian institution. They have decided that this is going to be taught to everybody. I can't find one point where there is any coercion or any force on these children, because the children, when they are minors, who is responsible for them? Who takes the decision? It is the elders. The elders have voluntarily given an undertaking that they have no problem. So who has the problem here?
Okay. We also have Mr. Vivek Reddy of the BJP joining us. Mr. Reddy, the denial which is coming in is that we never made it compulsory on the students. But if the students want to bring in the Bible, then what's wrong in that?
Well, I think first of all, an issue that has to be answered and a question that has been left unanswered is, why at all should the institution force parents to file an undertaking? The undertaking says that they have no issues if Bible is brought in or if scriptural books are brought in. Where was the necessity to have such an undertaking? Is that an attempt? Isn't that an attempt at conversion? Isn't that an attempt to bring in spiritual and scriptural books, though it is prohibited? And isn't that an open and direct attempt to influence children? Why do you want to have that undertaking? So delete that undertaking if you are so clear about saying that you are not influencing children or you're not resorting to any conversion activities. I think that is where the problem is, and they should have started from there. The Archbishop's statement is in the air. It is not specific. Where is the withdrawal of the undertaking? And innocent children are being manipulated on this basis. I don't think any civilized society can accept it.
Well, the counter argument is that it's a Christian school, and if in a Christian school, why should a child not be allowed to bring the Bible? I mean, others will not be forced to do so, but why should a child not be?
In Christian schools, that is where the problem is. In Christian schools, though it is branded as a minority Christian school, you have people of various denominations coming in.
Correct.
The school cannot influence anybody else except Christians. It cannot take its reach beyond the Christian faith and try to influence people from other faiths. Where they're trying to do that, I mean, nobody does that in any school. It is not being done in Hindu schools. Why at all is it being done in Christian schools?
So, Mr. Abraham, would you want to say that? Mr. Abraham, would you want to respond to what Mr. Reddy is saying?
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
First thing is, I want Mr. Reddy to read Article 28 again and again, up to 3 times to understand what it means. Second, we are going to educate people with the Bible. We have taken a decision. Now, who is forcing these people to come and join the school? Madam, this very same school, you go next year, during the admission time, you will find people sleeping outside the compound in midnight for admission. Why? They do not know that this undertaking has to be given. It is known. Everybody knows, whoever is joined, and till date, I dare them to give one example of one conversion from that institution.
Okay, and before I'm just going to move on, the quick last word, Mr. Reddy, would you want I believe you want to respond to it?
I think this is the very mindset that has to be avoided. The mindset that people are sleeping outside the schools, therefore we can do anything to them. I think the Article 25 is very clear.
What have we done to them?
What have we done to your religion?
What have we done to them?
You cannot influence other people merely because they sleep outside your compound wall. What sort of mindset is that?
Okay.
Yeah, this is a clear invasion of Article 25.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Reddy. Thank you very much, Mr. Abraham, for sharing your thoughts on this yet another controversy which has hit Bengaluru. Shifting focus to some more news which is coming in, and this has got to do with the independent MP Navneet Rana. Now, Navneet Rana has written to Delhi police demanding that action should be taken against the Shiva Sena MP Sanjay Raut for allegedly making casteist remarks and provoking Shiv Sainiks to protest outside her residence. Siddhant is with us. Yes, Siddhant, can you give us those details of the letter which she has written?
Well, that's correct. This letter has been written to Delhi Police Commissioner demanding FIR against Member of Parliament from Rajya Sabha, Mr. Sanjay Raut. The allegations have been made by MP from Amravati, Navneet Rana, and in this fresh letter, she has made series of allegations. One, that Mr. Raut has used casteist remarks against her. She also has to say on the very day when her car residence was gheraued by Shiv Sena leaders, it was after the provocation by Mr. Sanjay Raut. So these are some serious allegations that have been made on Mr. Sanjay Raut by Navneet Rana, independent MP from Amravati, who is still behind the bars. An investigation in the case is going on. Now, also, Pallavi, with this very development, it could become Delhi police versus Mumbai police, because Mumbai police has slapped 2 FIRs against the Rana couple, and is in an attacking mode against the Rana couple. Commissioner himself is tweeting videos of how Rana couple were treated inside the Khar police station. This is perhaps the reason that now Rana couple are not showing any faith in Mumbai police or Maharashtra police, and hence they are writing letter to Delhi police commissioner to take action in this entire matter.
Yes, thank you very much, Siddhant, for getting us that perspective. We're going to shift focus to some more news which is coming in from the national capital. Well, the South Delhi mayor has carried out an inspection at 3 sites where the anti-encroachment drive is likely to take place soon. Anshul is going to be joining us, but let's see what the reaction is first.
सर आज इंस्पेक्शन हो रहा है, क्या वजह है आज इस इंस्पेक्शन की?
वजह इंस्पेक्शन तो रूटीन में रेगुलर रहता है, निगम हमेशा 24 घंटे काम करता है लोगों के बीच में जाकर के।
लेकिन आप पे ऐसा आरोप लगाया जा रहा है कि अब सिंस इलेक्शन पास आ गए तो आपकी अचानक से ये बुलडोजर की जो राजनीति है अपनी राजनीति चमकाने के लिए
आरोपों की राजनीति हम नहीं करते हैं। हम तो विकास की और काम की राजनीति करते हैं, जनहित की बात करते हैं। आरोपों की राजनीति करने के लिए राज्य में सरकार बैठी है जिसके पास कोई मुद्दा नहीं, कोई विकास की बात नहीं। आज दिल्ली के, बदरपुर के, जैतपुर के लोगों को पानी नहीं मिल रहा है, लेकिन रोहिंग्या के पास टैंकर भिजवाए जा रहे हैं, उनको बिजली दी जा रही है। बांग्लादेशियों के राशन कार्ड बनाया जा रहा है, उनको राशन पहुंचवाया जा रहा, लेकिन गरीब जनता जो उनके अधिकार है, जो उनको राशन मिलना चाहिए, वो उन तक नहीं पहुंच रहा है। ये कौन सी राजनीति है?
आज इंस्पेक्शन हो रहा है सर, आगे की क्या प्रक्रिया रहेगी इसके बाद?
आगे की प्रक्रिया पूरी तरह से तैयार है, उस पर हम तुरंत कार्रवाई करने वाले हैं।
तो डेमोलिशन हो सकता है यहाँ पे, हम डेमोलिशन पे भी देख सकते हैं?
बिल्कुल, आप जल्दी बुलडोजर देखेंगे।
आप जल्दी बुलडोजर देखेंगे। अंशुल, which are the areas which are likely to see that bulldozer?
So yes, I am currently being joined by the mayor of South Delhi Municipal Corporation. I'll take that question directly to him. सर आज इंस्पेक्शन के लिए निकले हैं, कौन कौन से इलाके हैं जहां ऐसा अवैध निर्माण होता हुआ दिख रहा है आपको?
अभी हम लोग पार्षद जी हमें डी ब्लॉक ले जा रहे हैं, कंचन कुंज में जा रहे हैं हम लोग। वहाँ पर काफ़ी शिकायतें आ रही, वहाँ पे कब्जे हैं, इलीगल इंक्रोचमेंट है, अवैध निर्माण है, तो उस एरिया में हम जा कर के मुआयना करेंगे। सारी टीम हमारे साथ में है अधिकारियों की, उनको भी हमने साथ में रखा हुआ है।
सर ऐसा कहा जा रहा है कि ये जो अवैध निर्माण है ये काफ़ी सालों से यहाँ पर है, तो आज अचानक ऐसा क्या हुआ कि आज आप खुद ही इंस्पेक्शन करने इतनी दूर आ गए और इतना हेक्टिक शेड्यूल बना लिया?
हम लोग जैसे जैसे हमें सूचना मिली है उसी हिसाब से मैंने प्लान बना करके तैयार किया। और जो पुराने हैं, जो काफ़ी समय से हैं, जिनके पास पूरे डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं, उन पर हम इस तरह कोई कार्रवाई की बात नहीं कर रहे, लेकिन जो अभी हाल फिलहाल में लोगों द्वारा कराए जा रहे हैं, कुछ माफिया उनमें इन्वॉल्व हैं, उनको हम पूरी तरह से हटाने का काम करेंगे।
अच्छा, यहीं से जुड़े हुए इलाके हैं सर, शाहीन बाग आता है, वहाँ ओखला आता है, तो क्या आज इन इलाकों में भी हम देख सकते हैं कुछ कार्रवाई होते हुए?
हम अलग अलग इलाकों में अलग अलग समय पर जाते हैं। शाहीन बाग में भी एक दिन जाकर के हम जल्दी राउंड करने वाले हैं, ओखला में जल्दी राउंड करने वाले हैं, सरता बिहार में जल्दी राउंड करने वाले हैं।
आपने कहा आज काफ़ी लोगों से बात करते हुए कि शाहीन बाग पे भी आज बुलडोजर चल सकते हैं, क्या ऐसी कोई प्रक्रिया है?
में इस तरह की एक्टिविटी है तो वहाँ भी चल सकता है, अगर यहाँ पे है तो यहाँ भी चल सकता है, कहीं और है तो वहाँ भी चल सकता है।
क्या ये बुलडोजर की कार्रवाई हम आज देख सकते हैं या इसमें थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा? ये पूरा प्रोसेस
ये हमें 2 घंटे का समय चाहिए होता है कि इस चीज़ को संभालने में, ठीक करने में, तो 2 घंटे का हमें समय मिलेगा। अगर हमें लगता है कि आज कार्रवाई करनी तो हम आज भी करेंगे।
So yes, that's the big piece of news coming in from here, Pallavi, as you heard from the mayor himself, that yes, all the illegal encroachments in and around this area, which touches with Noida as of now, will be all these areas are being inspected right now, and in the next few hours we can see some major action happening in these areas, which includes this area of Madhapun Khadar, as well as Shaheen Bagh and Okhla, which fall just into the 3 to 5 kilometer radius from here. So
and yes, do you think, Anshul, seeing what happened in Jahangir Puri, all preparations are going to be taken, precautions are going to be taken to ensure that the law and order situation doesn't go out of hand?
So yes, the mayor himself has been going and visiting all these places, and as you can see in the visuals, some amount of security presence is present along with the mayor wherever he is going to carry out his inspection. So yes, the local administration is trying to make sure that the kind of situations that happened on the eve of Hanuman Jayanti in Jahangir Puri, and after that when the demolition drive was carried out, such a situation does not arise. But yes, the Delhi mayor is looking really very adamant today that action will be taken against all those who have had legal encroachments in these areas. Remember, many of these areas are still unauthorized and haven't been authorized by the Delhi government themselves. So as you can see in the visual, this is the kind of area that the mayor is inspecting right now, and he himself is saying that within the next 2 to 3 hours we might see bulldozers coming over here and trying to destruct the illegal constructions that have been made in these areas. So yes, a very hectic day for the mayor and the South Delhi Municipal Corporation to not only make sure that the demolition drives get ahead, but also peace and tranquility is maintained in these areas as well, Pallavi.
Okay, and you are of course reporting from ground zero. Have you been able to pick up a sense about how much is the extent of the illegal construction or the encroachments which are taking place?
So yes, I'll just try and show you around in the visuals according to the locals and the local authorities over here. All this construction that you see in and around over this area are all illegal encroachments, and this area itself hasn't been recognized by the Delhi government and is also called an illegal area in itself. So yes, many houses in this area could likely be demolished today, especially in the D block where the mayor is going to see the kind of situation that is happening over there, because people say that especially in the D block of this area, a massive encroachment has happened over there. And so yes, the Delhi mayor has taken it up to him to make sure that all these encroachments are brought down for once and for all, and the people who actually deserve to get the government benefits should get all those, because the Delhi mayor himself is saying that it is the Rohingyas and the Bangladeshis who have come out here and settled in these areas. The illegal migrants who have come out here and settled in these areas are taking the benefits of the government schemes, whereas the local people and the people who have been living here for generations are not getting benefits of these schemes. So one of the reasons for this anti-demolition drive that is going to be likely going to be carried out today is said to give justice to those who have been living here for generations, and to take those people out who have resettled here from maybe from Bangladesh or maybe Rohingyas. Pallavi.
Okay, we'll have to wait for that, and thank you so much for getting into those details first right over here. But there's some more news which is coming in. But over the last few days, we have been seeing a spike in the COVID cases. Is there going to be yet another round of COVID, another COVID wave? Well, the Prime Minister chaired a meeting a short while back with the Chief Ministers to ensure that all precautions are taken. So, Maria, what is it that was discussed at the meeting?
So, Pallavi, the meeting is still on, and Health Secretary, in fact, has done a presentation. Mr. Rajesh Bhushan has done a presentation in this conference that is still on. And the COVID cases are being reported largely from Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka, Punjab, and Haryana. And hence, there is a massive concern, particularly that this wave is impacting school children as well. Several educational institutions have been closed too. Mandatory masking is back, but is this a wave for which India should be really worried? Most health experts are of the opinion that because over 800 million Indians have been totally vaccinated, India is better prepared in terms of its shield and cover to take care of this wave. So is there an imminent fourth wave? For the moment, the government is trying to communicate, particularly the Prime Minister, that guards cannot be down, that all necessary precautions must be taken by the state government.
Okay, thank you very much, Maria, for this perspective. Well, moving on to another BJP versus Congress fight, and this is post Digvijay Singh's comments. He made a sensational claim that it was BJP which was sponsoring the stone pelters and the rioters. He said that the BJP has paid the poor Muslims to pelt stones for their political gain. Of course, this allegation hasn't gone down well with the BJP, and they have slammed Digvijay Singh for trying to divide the society and accuse the Muslims of riot.
नफरत के बीज बो जाते हैं, नफरत फैला जाते हैं, और ये भी जानकारी मिली अब तो गरीब मुसलमान लड़कों से पत्थर फेंकवाते हैं और उनसे पत्थर फेंकवाकर और दंगा करा देते हैं। ये भी हमारे पास कुछ प्रमाण आए, उसका हम वेरीफाई कर रहे हैं।
क्या हो गया दिग्विजय सिंह जी, आपको समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है। पहले तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति में एक कौम को संतुष्ट करने के लिए सेना पे सवाल उठाए, पुलिस पे सवाल उठाए, न्यायपालिका पे सवाल उठाए, और अब उस कौम को ही आपने बिकाऊ बता दिया कि पैसे लेके पत्थर फेंकते हैं। आपने एक बात तो स्पष्ट करी थी कि पत्थर अब कहाँ से आए थे और किसने फेंके थे, लेकिन आपको ये अधिकार, आपका क्या सबूत है कि उस कौम ने पैसे लेके पत्थर फेंके? किसी कौम के बारे में ऐसा बोला, किसी व्यक्ति के बारे में बोलते तो शायद इतनी पीड़ा ना होती, पर एक कौम को बदनाम करने का काम आपने किया है, वो भी इस पवित्र मास में अच्छा नहीं किया।
दिग्विजय सिंह जी की अकल पर ही पत्थर पड़ गए। जिस प्रकार से वो रोज अनर्गल बातें करते हैं और जिस प्रकार से समाज में विभेद पैदा करने की कोशिश करते हैं, इससे ज्यादा शर्मनाक और कुछ नहीं हो सकता। मुझे आश्चर्य है कि इतना सीनियर लीडर जो 2 बार एक सूबे का मुख्यमंत्री रहा हो, वो इस तरह से धर्म को धर्म से लड़ाने की बात करता है। और इसका
Staying in Madhya Pradesh, where there's some development which is taking place, which is that police has registered a case against unidentified persons who were trying to disturb communal harmony in Khargone in Madhya Pradesh. Now remember, there was a strain and stress which we saw in Khargone, and there were these allegations that they were political. Okay, Manoj is now joining me from Bhopal. Yes, Manoj, the details.
Yeah, in fact, this is now Khargone, on Ramnavami, there were stones were pelted and there were arson incident, and so far we have 63 cases, 175 arrests have been made so far by the police there in Khargone. But at this point, what the BJP is now alleging, the government is now alleging, you have already heard two ministers of Madhya Pradesh, Narottam Mishra and Vishwas Sarak, what they are saying, when we have registered 63 cases, when the investigation is on what basis Digvijay Singh can issue such an responsible statement? So what they are saying, what is the basis of Digvijay Singh's allegation? On what basis can he say that there were some poor Muslim boys who were instigated to throw stones and that finally led to riots in Khargone? So now BJP is seeking explanation from Digvijay Singh, and we must remember that there is already one FIR against Digvijay Singh in that Khargone case where he tweeted something, he used some picture which had nothing to do with whatever happened in Khargone on the occasion of Ramnavami.
All right. Thank you very much, Manoj, for getting us those details. We are going to shift focus to one of our big exclusives.
மாறினா வந்துட்டு உங்களுக்கு நல்லா இருக்கும் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி தான் வந்து சொன்னாங்க. வேற என்னென்னலாம் சொன்னாங்க உங்களுக்கு? என்னென்னலாம் வந்து சொல்லி வந்துட்டு உங்களுக்கு வந்து ஸ்கூலில் வந்து பேசிட்டு இருந்தாங்க உங்கள்கிட்ட?
இப்படி மாறினா வாழ்க்கை நல்லாயிருக்கும், கடவுள் நல்லா தருவார்.
நீங்கள் மட்டும் மாறி இருக்கீங்க.
Avoid friction. Hindu people arranged and organized Hindu head. Christian people organized his school teacher.
என்ன ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் படிக்கிறீங்க?
Okay, CNN News 18 now gets you part 3 of the conversion racket expose. This time the focus is on what's called the Ghar Wapsi of those who have converted to Christianity and have come back. In part 3 of this SIT report, a woman in South Tamil Nadu reconverts to Hinduism after discovering the promises of financial aid were all fake. It's been revealed that these innocent victims were lured to conversion by the ideas of money, education for their children and employment, but reality dawned on them when these promises were not kept. In this testimony, these victims detail the reasons of why they were forced to convert and then later reconvert to Hinduism.
எனக்கு வந்து ஞானஸ்தானம்னா என்னன்னே தெரியாது. அவங்க என்ன பண்ணாங்க, ஒரு இடத்துக்கு ஒரு ப்ரேயருக்குன்னு கூட்டிட்டு போனாங்க. அந்த குருஸ்தடி, நம்ம ஆர்வாய் மொழியில் தேவசகாய் மவுண்டன் இருக்கு, அந்த குருஸ்தடியில் கூட்டிகிட்டு போய் எனக்கு எங்கள் அம்மா அப்பாட்ட சொல்லாமலே ஞானஸ்தானம் எடுத்து விட்டுட்டாங்க. அது வந்து நான் எங்கள் அம்மா அப்பாட்ட சொல்லாமல் செய்தனால அந்த சர்டிஃபிகேட் கூட அவரே வச்சுருந்தாரு. அது எங்கள் அம்மாவுக்கு தெரிஞ்சு எங்கள் அம்மா பெரிய பிரச்சனை பண்ணவும் எனக்கு அது தப்புன்னு நான் உணர்ந்தேன். அதாவது எதுவாக இருந்தாலும் நம்ம அம்மா அப்பாவுக்கு தெரியாமல் பண்ணுறது எல்லாமே தப்பு தான் அப்படின்னு உணர்ந்து நான் அதுக்கு பிறகு நான் அந்த சர்ச்சுக்கு போகாமல் இருந்தேன். ஆனாலும் வந்து என்னை கம்பல் பண்ணாங்க, நான் போகாமல் கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சமாக மாறினேன். அதுக்கப்புறம் எங்கள் அம்மா வந்து இந்த கல்யாணத்தில் முழுசாக என்ன இந்து மாப்பிள்ளைக்கு கல்யாணம் பண்ணால் தான் சர்ச்சுக்கு போக மாட்டான்னு கல்யாணம் பண்ணி வச்சாங்க. அப்போ கூட நான் அவர் இந்து தான்.
ஓகே ஓகே, ரைட் ரைட். இப்போ நீங்கள் வந்துட்டு கிறிஸ்துவராக இருக்கும்போது வந்துட்டு உங்களை வந்து வேற யாராவது நீங்கள் மதம் மாறின மாதிரி வேற யாராவது மாற சொன்னாங்களா?
இல்லை, பாஸ்டர் சொல்லியிருக்காரு உன்னை சார்ந்தவங்க எல்லாத்தையும். நானும் கூட 2-3 பேரை மாற்றி
மற்றவங்கள மதம் மாற்றி
என் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் 3 பேரை மாற்றி விட்டுருக்கேன்.
கிறிஸ்டியானிட்டிக்கு நீங்கள்
மாற்றி விட்டுருக்கேன்.
ஓகே, இப்போ நீங்க கன்வெர்ட் ஆகும்பொழுது வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா உங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது பணம் ஏதாவது தந்தாங்களா இல்ல பணம் கொடுத்து இந்த மாதிரி மதம் மாத்தினா நாங்க வந்து பணம் தரோம் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி ஏதாவது சொன்னாங்களா?
பணம் தரேங்கிறத விட அந்த நேரத்துல நம்ம வெளியே போறதெல்லாம் ரொம்ப கஷ்டமான சூழ்நிலையா இருக்கும் நம்ம ஊர்ல. எங்க அம்மா ஃபேமிலியெல்லாம் ரொம்ப கஷ்டப்பட்ட ஃபேமிலி. அப்போ அவங்க மதுரைக்கு டூர் போகலாம், அங்கே போகலாம், இங்கே போகலாம், அப்படி கூட்டிகிட்டு போனாங்க.
நேரடியா பணம் கொடுக்காம இந்த மாதிரி வந்து மதுரை கூட்டு போய் என்னென்ன பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தாங்க? இல்ல மதுரையில கூட்டிட்டு போய் பெரிய கூட்டங்கள்ல பாஸ்டர்ட்ட போய் தலையில அந்த மாதிரி கலந்துக்கிறது வைக்கிறது அந்த மாதிரி வந்து டிராவலுக்குள்ள அவங்களே வந்து எல்லாமே பண்ணாங்க. இப்போ நாங்க வந்து நிறைய கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கோம் இந்த மாதிரி கார் எல்லாம் கொடுக்குறாங்க, காசுலாம் கொஞ்சம் கொடுத்துட்டு இருக்காங்க. சொன்னாங்க என்ன பண்ணாங்கன்னா, நான் சொல்ற மாப்பிள்ளைக்கு கல்யாணம் பண்ணா உங்களுக்கு கார், அந்த மாப்பிள்ளைக்கு கார் கொடுப்போம் அப்படிலாம் சொன்னாங்க. அது வரைக்கும் போகல. அது வரைக்கும்
Staying with Tamil Nadu, 11 people, including children, were electrocuted in Thanjavur in Tamil Nadu after a temple chariot during the Guru Puja celebrations came in contact with a live wire. Now, according to authorities, the chariot overturned on a high voltage power line, causing this tragedy. 15 others received injuries and are getting treatment at the Tanjore Medical College. Chief Minister M.K. Stalin is rushing to the spot to take stock of the situation. He's already announced a 5 lakh help to the families of the victims. Meanwhile, taking a note of the incident, the Prime Minister too condoled the death of the 11 people.
10 பேர் இறந்துருக்குறாங்க. அதில் 3 பேர் அங்கே ஸ்பாட்டில் இறந்துருக்குறாங்க. அப்புறம் 7 பேர் இந்த தஞ்சாவூர் மெடிக்கல் காலேஜ் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் வந்ததுக்கப்புறமா ட்ரீட்மெண்ட்டில் இருந்திருக்காங்க. இப்போ மீதி காயம்பட்டவங்க இன்னொரு 15 பேர் இருக்கிறாங்க. அதில் டாக்டர்ஸ் வந்து தீவிரமாக சிகிச்சை கொடுத்துக்கிட்டு இருக்கிறாங்க. இப்போது இந்த எலக்ட்ரிக்யூஷன் ஆக்சிடெண்ட் வந்து எப்படி நடந்தது அப்படிங்கிறதுக்கு எஃப்ஐஆர் பதிவு செய்யப்பட்டிருக்கிறது.
It is a very, very shocking incident. It is gut-wrenching that 11 people were dead in an electric accident. We don't know how the people, families will be consoled. And we'll have to find out how this happened and who was responsible for this oversight. We don't know words. We don't have any words to find out. I think the administration will look into it and ensure that these kind of things do not happen in the future. They will, I think, quickly swing into action. And whoever are affected, whoever are hurt, they'll be given top-class treatment and the government will aid in their recovery.
Okay, Purnima is now joining us. Purnima, it's an unfortunate incident, but was there a lapse also there? Purnima, if you can hear me, was there a lapse? Is an investigation throw up the fact that there was a lapse, the proper arrangements were not made or precautions were not taken?
Well, precautions were not taken because when there was a live wire and when the temple vehicle had come in contact with the live wire, which led to 11 deaths and even some of them are seriously injured. Therefore, investigation is on to see what went wrong. Why were preparations not made? Because we are talking about the lives lost, 11 deaths so far. Therefore, investigation is on and action will be taken, but precautionary measures were not in place. The checks were not done before the festival was conducted. Therefore, 11 people were dead and at least 2 are seriously injured and still in the ICU. Therefore, investigation is on and action will be taken is what the government says, and Chief Minister M.K. Stalin will be visiting the Thanjavur families of those who died in the incident, in the tragic incident, and they say that action will be taken at the earliest because there were lapses in this particular case and we are talking about 11 deaths here. Therefore, strict action will be taken and investigation is underway. In a day or two, the government says that action will be taken and they will also ensure that all the norms are in place going forward when it comes to any festival to ensure that no untoward incident takes place. Therefore, strict action will be taken is the word coming in, and Chief Minister will be visiting the Thanjavur families of those who died in the incident as well. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Purnima, for getting us those details. Okay, now we are going to, there's some more news which is coming in from the national capital, and this has got to do with the Aam Aadmi Party workers who are now holding a protest outside the BJP office over the proposed demolition. So you can see those pictures up on the screens. This is obviously snowballed into a political issue. Remember, in Jahangirpuri too, there was a war of words between the AAP, that's the Delhi government, and the BJP. Now, as there's talk about more demolitions possibly taking place, for now, the AAP workers are holding a protest outside the BJP office over this demolition drive. There are elections which could come up very time soon as far as the MCD is concerned, and certainly other important state elections, and a fight is increasingly becoming between the BJP and AAP. Let's listen in to those voices, and then I'm going to go across to my colleague.
देखिए क्या हो रहा है कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी को पता है कि उनका एमसीडी से सुपड़ा साफ होने वाला है। इसी से डर के उन्होंने एमसीडी के चुनाव पोस्टपोन करवा दिए हैं और अब आखिरी के कुछ जो महीने और सप्ताह उनके पास बचे हैं, उनके पार्षद जो हैं वो इलीगल वसूली कर रहे हैं हर एरिया से। वो लोगों को डरा रहे हैं, धमका रहे हैं कि अगर तुमने हमें पैसे नहीं दिए तो हम तुम्हारे घर पे बुलडोजर चलवा देंगे।
There's Arun who's now joining us on the phone line. So Arun, this is clearly over MCD. I don't know when those elections are going to take place, but clearly the war of words is on between AAP and the BJP.
Well, that's right. Aam Aadmi Party is protesting at the BJP headquarters today, and they're alleging that the BJP local leaders are demanding money from the people who are staying in the illegal construction to stop the bulldozer to come in that area. That's what the Aam Aadmi Party is alleging. They are protesting at the BJP headquarters. Even as we speak, the protest is underway. Of course, police have made the adequate arrangements so that the protesters don't reach to the gate of the.
Okay, I'm going to try and connect to Arun Hanta. So basically what he is talking about the fact that there's an Aam Aadmi Party which is already sloganeering outside the Delhi BJP office. The MCD elections, as we know, has been postponed. The Aam Aadmi Party has already raised okay, Arun is back. Yes, Arun, go ahead. Yes, Arun.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because police have made the arrangements to stop the Aam Aadmi Party to reach the headquarters, but of course, they have started there because the distance between Aam Aadmi Party's office and the BJP office is not that much, barely around 1 kilometer's distance. So police made three or four barricadings between Aam Aadmi Party's office and BJP office. But the point here is Aam Aadmi Party is saying they're targeting BJP on the bulldozer politics, the way we have seen and also in other parts of the country. So Aam Aadmi Party is saying that BJP leaders are going door to door of the people in those areas where they are illegally occupying and asking them to give them money. Otherwise, bulldozers will be brought to the work in that area, and therefore this massive protest by Aam Aadmi Party being organized starting from their office towards the Bharatiya Janata Party's office. And in fact, we've seen, especially after Jahangirpuri's incident, in the entire matter, and Aam Aadmi Party has been saying this point in last couple of days, that how BJP is trying to disturb the entire peace in the national capital. Therefore, bulldozer has been brought to the fore, and that is the only reason why they have planned this protest at the BJP headquarters. And of course, police have made all the arrangements outside the BJP headquarters to stop the Aam Aadmi Party to proceed towards the BJP office.
But okay. Now, just before I go back to Arun in a bit, let me just listen in to when Anshul spoke to the mayor over there about what more activities are they planning to do in terms of demolition.
सर आज इंस्पेक्शन हो रहा है, क्या वजह है आज इस इंस्पेक्शन की?
वजह इंस्पेक्शन तो रूटीन में रेगुलर रहता है, निगम हमेशा 24 घंटे काम करता है लोगों के बीच में जाकर के।
लेकिन आप पे ऐसा आरोप लगाया जा रहा है कि आप सिंस इलेक्शन पास आ गए तो आपकी अचानक से ये बुलडोजर की जो राजनीति है अपनी राजनीति चमकाने के लिए
आरोपों की राजनीति हम नहीं करते हैं, हम तो विकास की और काम की राजनीति करते हैं, जनहित की बात करते हैं। आरोपों की राजनीति करने के लिए राज्य में सरकार बैठी है जिसके पास कोई मुद्दा नहीं, कोई विकास की बात नहीं। आज दिल्ली के, बदरपुर के, जैतपुर के लोगों को पानी नहीं मिल रहा है, लेकिन रोहिंग्या के पास टैंकर भिजवाए जा रहे हैं, उनको बिजली दी जा रही है, बांग्लादेशियों के राशन कार्ड बनाया जा रहा है, उनको राशन पहुंचवाया जा रहा, लेकिन गरीब जनता जो उनके अधिकार है, जो उनको राशन मिलना चाहिए, वो उन तक नहीं पहुंच रहा है। ये कौन सी राजनीति है?
आज इंस्पेक्शन हो रहा है सर, आगे की क्या प्रक्रिया रहेगी इसके बाद?
आगे की प्रक्रिया पूरी तरह से तैयार है, उस पर हम तुरंत कार्रवाई करने वाले हैं।
तो डेमोलिशन हो सकता है यहाँ पे, हम डेमोलिशन पे भी देख सकते हैं?
बिल्कुल, आप जल्दी बुलडोजर देखेंगे।
Okay, so this was Anshul who was speaking to the mayor over there, and remember the mayor has been telling Anshul that there are other areas which are now being supervised and looked at and inspected, and there could be a demolition which could take place anytime soon. These are the illegal constructions, encroachments, and there's a massive drive against these encroachments. So that's going to be our top story, but that's it for me from now. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Toya, who's going to take us to all the other news and updates.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Pallavi. Good afternoon to our viewers watching CNN News 18. My name is Toya Singh. Through the rest of the day today and on our show in the next hour, we're going to be taking a quick look at domestic and international stories. But our first story of the day takes us down to Karnataka, where ripples continue to be felt in the state. This is after a right-wing group in the state brought up concerns over one school in the city of Bengaluru, Clarence School, mandating Bibles for all its students. The Karnataka government is, it's said, beginning to crack the whip on schools which, according to them, aim to enforce religious teachings. Speaking exclusively to CNN News 18, the State Education Minister, B.C. Nagesh, revealed that there are several schools that have surfaced solely for the purpose of conversion. This was his allegation. He's also alleged that these schools have been sent notices by the government and action against them will be duly initiated. So this is what the Education Minister has had to say. We'll show you his interview with us and then we'll speak to a ground reporter for more.
Sir, you have promised that authorities will be going and inspecting all Christian schools. When will this exercise begin?
We came to know this by some of the organizations. And when we saw the website, it was confirmed that they had insisted for the Bible, for the students to carry the Bible. And they are conducting exams in the Bible. So we have, our BEO has given a notice to them according to the democratic procedure. We are expecting an early reply from them. After getting the reply, definitely we are going to take action.
Okay, tell me, sir, what is the initial assessment, and are schools surreptitiously bringing in religion then?
According to the present situation, we feel that the schools were originally built to see that conversion can be made easy. Otherwise, why do they want to teach Bible there? Why did they want to make exams regarding a Bible?
So you are essentially saying that these schools are carrying out conversion activities?
I'm not saying that schools were engaged in conversion activity, but originally, because the reply given by the school is that our school was started 103 years ago. Since then, we are using this Bible, and we have made compulsory for every student to study the Bible. Then the original purpose of the school to be started in Karnataka was, I think the purpose was conversion.
Okay, since you are saying that the original purpose was to initiate conversion, then what action will you be taking?
As I said, that as a democratic procedure, we have given the notice. We are expecting the reply from the management. After getting the reply, definitely we will take appropriate action according to the law.
And some breaking news coming in related to this very story. The Archdiocese of Bangalore has jumped into the controversy. He said that the allegations against the school are false and misleading. The Christian body has also said that no student is being forced to read the Bible. Now, we'll try to bring you more details, but what he has clarified is that since last year, no child is required to bring the Bible to the school or asked to read it by force. He's saying that those were the rules, but that they have since been changed. So that clarification coming in from the Archdiocese. Now, my colleague Ritu is with us right now. Let's go over to her to get a lot more in terms of clarification before we go on to guests to get expert opinions. Ritu, thank you so much for bringing us your perspective and what's taking place on the ground right now. So for our audiences, before we go over to experts, I'd like if you could lay out some of the important information when it comes to this story. A, could you tell us what the Archdiocese has had to say? But B, then, when the BJP is saying that all of what's taking place could potentially be in violation of the Karnataka State Education Board's rules, could you tell our audiences a little bit more about the rules that exist and then tell us about what Clarence School has in place?
Well, exactly after Clarence High School made it mandatory for students to carry the Bible, and after taking an undertaking from parents that they cannot object to this particular rule of the school, there you had a ripple in the complete story. Now then, you recently have a development in this story is from the Karnataka Archbishop, who is saying that this is clearly an hidden agenda to discredit all the good works being done by the Christian minorities in the sector of health, or for that matter in the education. He also says that there is no conversion really happening and no one has been forced to read the Bible. But when we tried speaking to a few students, they clearly told us that they are still carrying the Bible and they also have their exams to write on it. Their marks gets counted before class 9, but in the 10th they just have to read a few lessons on the Bible, but they will not have an exam in particularly, but there will be an attendance counted for it particularly. But meanwhile, you also have some Hindu groups who have been objecting to this particular rule of the school, saying that this is clearly an unconstitutional and it is incorrect and serious action has to be taken against to the Clarence High School. But you also had a principal who said that they will be seeking a legal opinion on this particular matter and they will ensure that they are following the law of the land.
Ritu, quick follow-up question for you. Our audiences might be aware that the state government in Karnataka had talked about introducing the Bhagavad Gita as part of syllabus. I know that that has also been addressed by the BJP government in the state when it comes to this controversy. Could you bring us context?
See, not exactly. In a way, BC Nagesh, Education Minister, had clearly told that few essence from the Bhagavad Gita or Mahabharata will be included in the moral science, but it won't be completely a religious book that you can say that a student is carrying to a school. But here in the Clarence High School, you can see clearly a Bible, a book is being carried by the students to the school. So there's a huge difference between teaching a student a few essence about some religious books and then you carrying a completely religious book to the school. So there is a huge difference between both of this.
All right, Ritu, stay with us. Thank you so much for bringing us those details. For our audiences now, we want to bring you two perspectives on the story. We have with us Vijay Prasad. He's the Karnataka BJP spokesperson. We also have Vivek Srivastava. He's the political analyst. I want to go over first to Vijay Prasad, but good afternoon to both of you. Mr. Prasad, can you highlight for us first what the Karnataka BJP's opposition is in detail? Because we're hearing again and again from various leaders in the state, Christian leaders in the state, that this is a minority school and so this should very much be allowed. I'd like to understand what the BJP's opposition is. Could you tell us more?
See, the opposition is not for the imparting the education. Okay, the BJP will always support the kind of education that they always wanted to teach to the students. The opposition is truly because of the kind of question these schools are putting on these students and the parents. In the existing case, in case of the Clarence School, they are clearly laying out that okay, the Bible has to be learned if you want to get admission to the Clarence School. Okay, so that is where the problem is. The contest is not about the education. The educational institutions are there for sowing the seed of the knowledge. Okay, not to sow the seed of religion. That has to be correct. See, in the current context, there is a clear violation of Karnataka Education Act of 1983. Okay, it clearly says educational institutions, any propaganda or practice wounding the religious feelings of any class of citizens of India or insulting religion or the religious belief of their class. Okay, it clearly says. And at the same time, prima facie, it appears that there's clear violation of Article 25 and 28.
साथ ही आप में से कई मुख्यमंत्री साथियों ने भी कई जरूरी बिंदुओं को सबके सामने प्रस्तुत किया है। ये स्पष्ट है कि कोरोना की चुनौती अभी पूरी तरह से टली नहीं है। ओमिक्रॉन और उसके सब वेरिएंट्स किस तरह गंभीर परिस्थिति पैदा कर सकते हैं, ये यूरोप के देशों में हम देख रहे हैं। पिछले कुछ महीनों में कुछ देशों में इन सब वेरिएंट्स की वजह से कई सर्ज आए हैं। हम भारतवासियों ने कई देशों की तुलना में अपने देश में हालात को काफी बेहतर और नियंत्रण में रखा है। इन सब के बावजूद पिछले 2 हफ्तों से जिस तरह से कुछ राज्यों में केसेस बढ़ रहे हैं, उससे हमें अलर्ट रहने की जरूरत है। हमारे पास कुछ महीने पहले जो लहर आई, उस लहर ने हमने उसमें से बहुत कुछ सीखा भी है। सभी देशवासी ओमिक्रॉन लहर से सफलतापूर्वक निपटे, बिना पैनिक किए देशवासियों ने मुकाबला भी किया। साथियों, 2 साल के भीतर देश ने हेल्थ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर से लेकर ऑक्सीजन सप्लाई तक कोरोना से जुड़े हर पक्ष में जो भी आवश्यक है वहां मजबूती देने का काम किया है। तीसरी लहर में किसी भी राज्य से स्थितियां अनियंत्रित होने की खबर नहीं आई। इसको हमारे कोविड वैक्सीनेशन अभियान से भी काफी मदद मिली। देश के हर राज्य में, हर जिले में, हर क्षेत्र में, चाहे वहां की भौगोलिक परिस्थितियां कैसी भी रही हो, वैक्सीन जन जन तक पहुंची है। प्रत्येक भारतीय के लिए ये गौरव की बात है कि आज भारत की 96% वयस्क आबादी को कोरोना वैक्सीन की पहली डोज लग चुकी है। 15 साल के ऊपर उम्र के करीब 85% नागरिकों को दूसरी डोज भी लग चुकी है। साथियों, आप भी समझते हैं और दुनिया के ज्यादातर एक्सपर्ट्स का निष्कर्ष यही है कि कोरोना से बचाव के लिए वैक्सीन सबसे बड़ा कवच है। हमारे देश में लंबे समय बाद स्कूल्स खुले हैं, क्लासेस शुरू हुई है। ऐसे में कोरोना केसेस के बढ़ने से कहीं ना कहीं पेरेंट्स के लिए चिंता बढ़ रही है। कुछ स्कूल्स में बच्चों के संक्रमित होने के मामले में भी कुछ न कुछ खबरें आ रही है। लेकिन संतोष का विषय है कि ज्यादा से ज्यादा बच्चों को भी वैक्सीन का कवच मिल रहा है। मार्च में हमने 12 से 14 साल के बच्चों के लिए वैक्सीनेशन शुरू कर दिया था। अभी कल ही 6 से 12 साल के बच्चों के लिए भी कोवैक्सीन टीका की परमिशन मिल गई है। सभी एलिजिबल बच्चों का जल्द से जल्द टीकाकरण यह हमारी प्राथमिकता है। इसके लिए पहले की तरह स्कूलों में विशेष अभियान भी चलाने की जरूरत होगी। टीचर्स और माता पिता इसे लेकर जागरूक रहें, हमें ये भी सुनिश्चित करना होगा। वैक्सीन सुरक्षा कवच की मजबूती के लिए देश में सभी वयस्कों के लिए प्रिकॉशन डोज भी उपलब्ध हैं। टीचर्स, पेरेंट्स और बाकी एलिजिबल लोग भी प्रिकॉशन डोज ले सकते हैं। इस तरह भी हमें उन्हें जागरूक करते रहना होगा। साथियों, तीसरी लहर के दौरान हमने हर दिन 3 लाख से ज्यादा केसेस देखे हैं। हमारे सभी राज्यों ने इन केसेस को हैंडल भी किया और बाकी सामाजिक आर्थिक गतिविधियों को भी गति दी। यही बैलेंस आगे भी हमारी स्ट्रेटेजी का हिस्सा रहना चाहिए। हमारे साइंटिस्ट और एक्सपर्ट्स नेशनल और ग्लोबल सिचुएशन को लगातार मॉनिटर कर रहे हैं। उनके सुझावों पर हमें प्रिएम्प्टिव, प्रोएक्टिव और कलेक्टिव अप्रोच के साथ काम करना होगा। इन्फेक्शंस को शुरुआत में ही रोकना हमारी प्राथमिकता पहले भी थी और अब भी यही रहनी चाहिए। आप सबने भी जिस बात का उल्लेख किया, टेस्ट, ट्रैक और ट्रीट की हमारी स्ट्रेटेजी को भी हमें उतने ही प्रभावी तौर पर लागू करना है। आज कोरोना की जो स्थिति है उसमें ये जरूरी है कि अस्पतालों में भर्ती मरीजों में जो हमारे गंभीर इन्फ्लुएंजा के केसेस हैं उनका 100% RT-PCR टेस्ट हो। इसमें जो भी पॉजिटिव आते हैं उनका सैंपल जीनोम सीक्वेंसिंग के लिए जरूर भेजें। इससे हम वेरिएंट की समय समय पर पहचान कर पाएंगे। साथियों, हमें सार्वजनिक स्थानों पर कोविड एप्रोप्रिएट बिहेवियर को प्रमोट करना है। साथ ही पब्लिक में पैनिक न फैले, ये भी सुनिश्चित करना है। साथियों, आज की इस चर्चा में हेल्थ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को अपग्रेड करने के लिए जो काम हो रहे हैं उनकी भी बात हुई। इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के अपग्रेड का काम तेजी से चलता रहे, ये सुनिश्चित किया जाना चाहिए। बेड्स, वेंटिलेटर्स और PSA ऑक्सीजन प्लांट जैसी सुविधाओं के मामले में हम काफी बेहतर स्थिति में हैं, लेकिन ये सारी सुविधाएं फंक्शनल रहे, हमें ये भी सुनिश्चित करना होगा और उसको मॉनिटर किया जाए, जिम्मेवारी तय की जाए ताकि कभी जरूरत पड़े तो हमें संकट ना आए। साथ ही अगर कहीं कोई गैप है तो मैं आग्रह करूंगा कि टॉप लेवल पर उसको वेरीफाई किया जाए, उसको भरने का प्रयास हो। मेडिकल कॉलेजेस, जिला अस्पताल, इन सब में हमें अपने मेडिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को भी स्केल अप करना है और मैन पावर को भी स्केल अप करना है। मुझे विश्वास है आपसी सहयोग और संवाद से हम लगा कोरोना के खिलाफ लड़ाई लड़ते भी रहेंगे और रास्ते भी निकालते रहेंगे। साथियों, कोऑपरेटिव फेडरलिज्म की जिस भावना को संविधान में व्यक्त किया गया है उस पर चलते हुए भारत ने कोरोना के खिलाफ मजबूती से ये लंबी लड़ाई लड़ी है। वैश्विक परिस्थितियों की वजह से, बाहरी कारकों की वजह से देश की आंतरिक परिस्थितियों पर जो प्रभाव होता है, केंद्र और राज्यों ने मिलकर उसका मुकाबला किया भी है और आगे भी करना ही होगा। केंद्र और राज्यों के साझा प्रयासों से ही आज देश में बड़े स्तर पर हेल्थ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में सुधार हो पाया है। लेकिन साथियों, आज इस चर्चा में मैं एक और पक्ष का जिक्र करना चाहता हूं। आज की वैश्विक परिस्थितियों में भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था की मजबूती के लिए आर्थिक निर्णयों में केंद्र और राज्य सरकारों का तालमेल, उनके बीच सामंजस्य पहले से अधिक आवश्यक है। आप सभी इस बात से परिचित है कि जो युद्ध की परिस्थिति पैदा हुई है और जिस प्रकार से सप्लाई चेन प्रभावित हुई है, और ऐसे माहौल में दिनों दिन चुनौतियां बढ़ती जा रही हैं। ये संकट, वैश्विक संकट, अनेक चुनौतियां लेकर के आ रहा है। ऐसे संकट के समय में केंद्र और राज्यों के बीच तालमेल को, कोऑपरेटिव फेडरलिज्म की भावना को और बढ़ाना अनिवार्य हो गया है। अब मैं एक छोटा सा उदाहरण देता हूं। जैसे पेट्रोल डीजल की कीमतों का एक विषय हम सबके सामने है। देशवासियों पर पेट्रोल डीजल की बढ़ती कीमत का बोझ कम करने के लिए केंद्र सरकार ने एक्साइज ड्यूटी में कमी की थी। पिछले नवंबर महीने में कम की थी। केंद्र सरकार ने राज्यों से भी आग्रह किया था कि वो अपने यहां टैक्स कम करे और ये बेनिफिट नागरिकों को ट्रांसफर करे। इसके बाद कुछ राज्यों ने तो भारत सरकार की इस भावना के अनुरूप यहां टैक्स कम कर दिया, लेकिन कुछ राज्यों द्वारा अपने राज्य के लोगों को इसका कोई लाभ नहीं दिया गया। इस वजह से पेट्रोल डीजल की कीमतें इन राज्यों में अब भी दूसरों के मुकाबले कहीं ज्यादा है। ये एक तरह से इन राज्यों के लोगों के साथ अन्याय तो है ही, साथ ही पड़ोसी राज्यों को भी नुकसान पहुंचाता है। स्वाभाविक है कि जो राज्य टैक्स में कटौती करते हैं उन्हें राजस्व की हानि होती है। जैसे अगर कर्नाटका ने टैक्स में कटौती नहीं की होती तो उसे इन 6 महीनों में 5,000 करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा का राजस्व मिलता। गुजरात ने भी टैक्स कम नहीं किया होता तो उसे भी 3,500-4 हजार करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा का राजस्व और मिलता। लेकिन ऐसे कुछ राज्यों ने अपने नागरिकों की भलाई के लिए, अपने नागरिकों को तकलीफ न हो इसलिए अपने वेट में, टैक्स में कमी की पॉजिटिव कदम उठाए। वहीं गुजरात और कर्नाटक के पड़ोसी राज्यों ने टैक्स में कमी न करके इन 6 महीनों में 3,500 करोड़ रुपए से लेकर के 5-5.5 हजार करोड़ रुपए तक अतिरिक्त राजस्व कमा लिया। जैसा हम जानते हैं कि पिछले साल नवंबर महीने में वैट कम करने की बात की थी, सबको मैंने प्रार्थना की थी, लेकिन कई राज्य, मैं यहां किसी की आलोचना नहीं कर रहा हूं, मैं सिर्फ आपसे प्रार्थना कर रहा हूं, आपके राज्य के नागरिकों की भलाई के लिए प्रार्थना कर रहा हूं। अब जैसे उस समय 6 महीने पहले कुछ राज्यों ने बात को माना, कुछ राज्यों ने नहीं माना। अब कई राज्य जैसे महाराष्ट्र, पश्चिम बंगाल, तेलंगाना, आंध्र प्रदेश, तमिलनाडु, केरला, झारखंड, किसी न किसी कारण से उन्होंने इस बात को नहीं माना और उनके राज्य को, नागरिकों को बोझ कंटिन्यू रहा। मैं इस बात में नहीं जाऊंगा कि इस दौरान इन राज्यों ने कितना रेवेन्यू कमाया। लेकिन अब आपसे मेरी प्रार्थना है कि देश हित में आप पिछले नवंबर में जो करना था, 6 महीने डिले हो चुका है, अब भी आप अपने राज्य के नागरिकों को वैट कम करके इसका बेनिफिट पहुंचाइए। आप सब जानते हैं कि भारत सरकार के पास जो रेवेन्यू आता है उसका 42% तो राज्यों के ही पास चला जाता है। मेरा सभी राज्यों से आग्रह है कि वैश्विक संकट के इस समय में कोऑपरेटिव फेडरलिज्म की भावना पर चलते हुए एक टीम के रूप में हम सब मिलकर काम करें। अब मैं कई विषय हैं, बारीकी में नहीं जा रहा हूं, जैसे फर्टिलाइजर। आज हम तो फर्टिलाइजर पर दुनिया के देशों पर डिपेंडेंट है। कितना बड़ा संकट आया है, लगातार अनेक गुना सब्सिडी बढ़ रही है। हम किसानों पर बोझ ट्रांसफर नहीं करना चाहते। अब ऐसे संकट झेलने पड़ रहे हैं, तब मैं आप सबसे आग्रह करता हूं, प्रार्थना करता हूं कि आप अपने राज्य, अपने पड़ोसी राज्य, सभी देशवासियों के हित में उसकी सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकता दे। मैं एक और उदाहरण देता हूं। अब नवंबर में जो करना था नहीं किया, इसलिए पिछले 6 महीने में क्या हुआ है, आज चेन्नई में, तमिलनाडु में पेट्रोल करीब 111 रुपया के पास है। जयपुर में 118 से भी ज्यादा है। हैदराबाद में 119 से ज्यादा है। कोलकाता में 115 से ज्यादा है। मुंबई में 120 से ज्यादा है। और जिन्होंने कटौती की, मुंबई के ही बगल में दीव दमन में 102 रुपया है। मुंबई में 120, बगल में दीव दमन में 102 रुपया। अब कोलकाता में 115, लखनऊ में 105, हैदराबाद में 120 करीब करीब, जम्मू में 106, जयपुर में 118, गुवाहाटी में 105, गुड़गांव में 105 है। देहरादून, छोटा राज्य हमारा उत्तराखंड, 103 रुपया है। मैं आपसे आग्रह करता हूं कि आप 6 महीने भले जो कुछ भी आपका रेवेन्यू बढ़ा आपके राज्य के काम आएगा, लेकिन अब पूरे देश में आप सहयोग कीजिए। ये मेरी आपको विशेष प्रार्थना है आज। साथियों, एक विषय और जिस पर भी मैं अपनी बात आज कहना चाहता हूं। देश में गर्मी तेजी से बढ़ रही है और समय से पहले बहुत गर्मी बढ़ रही है, और ऐसे समय में हम अलग अलग स्थानों पर आग की बढ़ती हुई घटनाएं भी देख रहे हैं। जंगलों में, महत्वपूर्ण इमारतों में, अस्पतालों में आग की कई घटनाएं बीते कुछ दिनों में हुई है। हम सबको याद है वो दिन कितने पीड़ादायक थे जब पिछले साल कई हॉस्पिटलों में आग लगी, और वो बड़ी दर्दनाक स्थिति थी। बहुत मुश्किल समय था वो। अनेक लोगों को इन हादसों में अपनी जान गंवानी पड़ी थी। इसलिए मेरे सभी राज्यों से आग्रह है कि अभी से हम विशेषकर हॉस्पिटलों का सेफ्टी ऑडिट करवाएं, सुरक्षा के इंतजाम पुख्ता करें और प्राथमिकता के आधार पर करें। ऐसी घटनाओं से हम बच सके, ऐसी घटनाएं कम से कम हो, हमारा रिस्पांस टाइम भी कम से कम हो, जान माल की हानि ना हो। इसके लिए भी मैं आपको आग्रह करूंगा कि आप अपनी टीम को विशेष रूप से इस काम पर लगाइए और बिल्कुल मॉनिटरिंग कीजिए, ताकि देश में कहीं हादसा न हो, हमारे निर्दोष नागरिकों को जान न गंवानी पड़े। साथियों, आप सभी ने समय निकाला, इसके लिए मैं एक बार फिर आप सबका आभार व्यक्त करता हूं, और हमेशा मैं आपके लिए उपलब्ध रहता हूं। कोई भी जरूरी सुझाव आपके होंगे तो मुझे अच्छा लगेगा। मैं फिर एक बार आप सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूं।
All right, that statement coming in from the Prime Minister. Two key points over there. Obviously, first, the Prime Minister began by addressing concerns of a possible fourth wave. But the second large point coming out of that, the Prime Minister addressing fuel tax cuts and addressing the entire controversy around them. Also saying that opposition states, and pointedly calling out a number of opposition states, telling them that they need to cut their fuel taxes. Now, this isn't the first time the Prime Minister has made this message. In November 2011, so just 2021, just a few months ago, the BJP-led government had made a similar such claim. Immediately after it had made the statement, after the central government had encouraged states to commiserately reduce VAT on petrol and diesel, you'd had several other states immediately follow suit. You'd had Uttarakhand and Odisha slash the taxes of both fuels by 2 and 3 rupees. You'd had Assam, Gujarat, Tripura, Manipur, Karnataka, Bihar, Mizoram and Goa, all around 7 rupee cuts. Uttar Pradesh and Haryana announced bigger reductions of 12 rupees. But then you'd also had opposition states, for example, Kerala, cite their poor financial condition and say they couldn't afford to do so. Now, my colleague Arun Dhanta is with us to bring us more details. Arun, we've just heard from the Prime Minister, and I'd like to draw our audience's attention to the fact that towards the right of the Prime Minister are key chief ministers and also obviously ministers and key portfolios of the central government, all listening into that speech. So as the Prime Minister obviously addressed opposition states, you had the West Bengal Chief Minister, the Delhi Chief Minister, all listening in. But tell us about the key points of his address right now. All right, we'll try to reconnect with Arun Dhanta, my colleague over there. We'll try to get more perspective. Two key messages, as I've just said. Right now, we have Narendra Taneja from the BJP with us right now to bring us his first perspective on what the Prime Minister has had to say. Mr. Taneja, thank you so much for joining us right now on the show. All right, we have Pratap Charya, the Rajasthan Minister. He's with us right now on the show. Sir, thank you so much for joining us here on CNN News 18. We've just heard from the Prime Minister urging states to make fuel tax cuts, particularly calling out a number of opposition states, saying that they need to make fuel tax cuts and make it easier for the common citizen. Is the Rajasthan government going to follow through? Mr. Kacharya, are you with us? All right, we have the BJP's Narendra Taneja is with us right now on the phone. We'll go over to him right now. Mr. Taneja, thank you so much for joining us here on CNN News 18. We just heard from the Prime Minister remaking that message we've heard the central government make before, encouraging states to reduce the VAT on petrol and diesel and give relief to ordinary consumers. Tell us a little bit more about this message that we've just heard from the Prime Minister. Are we expecting opposition states to respond to it? Tell us more about the BJP's perspective, please. All right, we don't seem to have that connection with Narendra Taneja either. We do, however, have Shiva Rai. He's from the TMC. As you might have seen, the Prime Minister did call out the West Bengal government among other governments right now in his address. Let's go over to Shiva Rai from the TMC. Mr. Rai, are we likely to see a response from Mamata Banerjee, the Chief Minister in the state, on what the Prime Minister has very pointedly said right now in his speech, where he's called out a number of states for not cutting down fuel taxes?
The Prime Minister's statement is not correct. We do not agree. The fuel price rise is not due to the state. The maximum amount of central excise is taken by the center. State takes only a small portion. The center has to reduce its own excise duty. That's the only way the fuel prices can be.
So when we saw several states just a few months ago follow suit, so you saw Uttarakhand, Odisha slashing their taxes by 2 rupees, 3 rupees. You'd seen a number of other states, Assam, Gujarat, Tripura, announcing 7 rupee tax cuts.
These are all BJP ruled states. What is the meaning of
Sorry, sir, could you repeat what you're saying?
To the line of the center. They will to the line of the center. All non-BJP states are opposed to this.
All right, Mr. I do stay with us. I'm going to go over to the BJP's Narendra Taneja to understand what he has to say. Mr. Taneja, thank you so much for joining us here at CNN News 18. We've just heard from the Trinamool Congress straight after the Prime Minister's address. The Trinamool Congress has to say that the parties that have followed through and the states that have followed through are just following the state line, that the government has made it very, very hard to cut taxes. What is your response to that?
No, you see, the point is that, I mean, if they want to play politics, that's a different story. If they want to give just a political rhetoric back, that's a different story. The point is, when you look at the tax structure, the central government, charges only excise. But what the states do on excise, when it comes to the base price of petroleum products, and then they, when they're putting their tax, they include excise also. So in other words, done on ad valorem basis. So for what reasons? There is absolutely no logic. Second thing is, look at various states. Some states may not be doing as well as, let's say, more prosperous states. But when it comes to taxes, state government charges the maximum. And they are the one who have to come out with the central government. There are a number of schemes the central government is supporting, and supporting the ordinary people, especially those on the, living on the margins. So therefore, it is what the Prime Minister is just saying that, instead of just playing politics, keep blaming the center for everything. Why don't they just look at, internally and try to find a solution and see what relief they can provide to the ordinary consumer? Because after all, look at the kind of their tax structure. They are the one which basically are charging with absolutely no basis, charging on ad valorem. In some cases, like states like Rajasthan, state taxes are among the highest. And the same goes for Maharashtra, the same goes for some other states. The point is that they need to introspect and they need to find out what is the best solution. How can they do? Central is not saying that they will not try. So all the Prime Minister has basically addresses that, instead of just pointing your finger in the direction of New Delhi, why don't you do something about it? There are many states which are basically, when you look at the taxes kind of charges, in Rajasthan, for example, they've charged VAT, and on the top of it, they even have cess. So now the point is, these are the things that Prime Minister is referring to, that at the end of the day, you also have a role to play. People have trust in you. You are responsible for the welfare of the ordinary people, just like the center is. Why don't you also come? And wherever the talks are necessary, conversation are necessary with the center, by all means do that with the Ministry of Petroleum, Minister of Finance, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, all that they are doing is just pointing fingers in one direction, that is the center. That's not acceptable.
Mr. Taneja, I want to ask you here. We did just right now hear from a TMC representative, and you did have a counter to that. But we've also heard time and time again from other states. For example, the state of Kerala has pointed out again and again that they're in too poor a financial condition to offer the kind of cuts that they'd like to offer. Aren't we hearing a number of the opposition states say that they need more aid from the center?
No, the point is that, when it comes, we are a federal structure. The number of area for which the center is responsible. When it comes to petroleum products, it is the responsibility of the central government first to source crude oil from wherever in the possible, make sure it is refined, make sure it is transported, make sure it is available across the country, and also even collect the state government taxes on behalf of the states and pass on to them at absolutely no cost to them. So 90% responsibility is done by the center. If they say that we have limited resources, India is not a developed country yet. We are not the United States. India is also a developing country. Center is also a developing economy. When they talk about their own economy, they should know that we are also a developing economy. And center, when you look at since the COVID, central government has done the maximum for the states, in the entire history. If 80 crore people are getting the kind of relief in terms of food, oil, sugar, everything, that's the center which is doing it. When it comes to vaccination...
Mr. Taneja, will you stay with us for just a second? Because we also have Vishwadeep Dev from the TMC, and I do want to understand once again what the TMC has to say, then I will come back to you to ask you more. Mr. Dev, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon on CNN News 18. We've just heard from the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has called out a number of opposition states demanding once again that they cut taxes on fuel. Now, I'd like to know what the TMC's counter to that is, because West Bengal was one of the states called out by the Prime Minister. Do tell us.
No, first of all, I would like to say that, you see, the fuel prices, when internationally the fuel prices were going down, we don't understand the reason why the fuel prices in India is going up like this. Now the center is saying that the VAT should be reduced in the states. But what the center is doing, the center should also reduce their portion. And the most important part is, you see, the entire fuel price, diesel, petrol, it's shot up like anything. They have no control over it, and they are regularly referring it that international market is going up, so that is why we cannot control it. But they have the other means. They can reduce the taxes, they can reduce the VAT, they can reduce the central taxes, because center has got so many ways and means of income, whereas the state has limited resources. But in spite of that, Mamata Banerjee had earlier reduced the VAT by 1 rupee. And we are determined to see that the people get some relief, because this rise in the fuel has cost a lot. It's a really a pity that ultimately, that due to the rise of the fuel prices, the common people are suffering a lot. Every essential commodity, price of every essential commodity has gone up. They are doing nothing, absolutely sitting tight on it, the center. Something they have to do.
Mr. Deb, walk us through what you would like to see the central government do first, please.
Pardon me?
I said walk us through what you would like to see happen from the central government side.
The central government should at least take all initiative to reduce the taxes, to reduce the cost of the fuel, because they have everything in their hand. The central government has got so many resources, whereas the state has limited resources. And within the limited means, Mamata Banerjee has done enough to do something for the common people, to give at least relief to the common people.
Mr. Deb, can you stay with us for a second, because I do want to bring a BJP perspective in on this, and then we'll come back to you to understand more of what the TMC and what West Bengal has to say. We have Shehzad Poonawalla with us this afternoon. Mr. Poonawalla, we were hearing right now from the TMC, but just for our audiences, before I come to you, I want to recap that we've just watched the Prime Minister's address, and one of the key points the Prime Minister made in his address was he requested a number of opposition states to cut the fuel taxes. Now, Mr. Poonawalla, we've just heard from Biswajit Deb from the TMC. He's arguing that his state government, at least the West Bengal government, has done everything they can possibly on their own to reduce taxes for the common person. They've done their best from their side. We've also heard previously from other states, and we've heard states repeat time and time again that they're doing the best they can with their financial conditions. I'd like to understand what the BJP has to say to that.
Well, let me just explain to you. Maharashtra earns 32 rupees as state levy taxes on petrol per litre, Andhra Pradesh 31, Rajasthan 29, Kerala 27, West Bengal 26. Now you compare this with BJP ruled states like Uttarakhand earns 14 rupees, Uttar Pradesh 16 rupees, Gujarat 16 rupees, Himachal 16 rupees, Assam 70 rupees. In every opposition ruled state, the state levies double taxes compared to any BJP ruled state. And this is because they want to make a killing while they talk about mehengai. When the centre had cut the central excise duty on petrol and diesel in November, at that time there were 7 or 8 states, primarily opposition states like Andhra Pradesh, like West Bengal, like Jharkhand, and Maharashtra, which did not cut a single rupee in VAT. In fact, in Maharashtra, where I come from, they've cut taxes on imported liquor, but they haven't cut taxes or VAT on petrol and diesel, and yet they go around screaming across the country कि महंगाई बढ़ गई है. The question is that if they are concerned about महंगाई, why not cut state VAT as well? In Rajasthan, a litre of petrol costs 120 rupees per litre. In Maharashtra, it's 120 rupees per litre. Now you compare that with the prices in Uttarakhand or in Uttar Pradesh. So the fact of the matter is that it's very easy to speak all of these things. And look who's talking. The Congress party, when they ran the government from 2004 to 14, the average inflation was almost 9%. It crossed 10% 9 times, and it was the last 2 years, 2012 to 2014, was above 9%. And today, the inflation, despite the COVID challenge, has been about 5.5% to 6.5%. This is while United States is tackling an inflation of about 7.5%. So the point is that facts matter.
Mr. Poonawalla, stay with us, because you know the numbers that you gave us in the beginning. I now want to take those over to Biswajit Deb from the TMC, because you were raising that question. You were comparing states that are BJP ruled and non-BJP ruled, and pointing out that the non-BJP ruled states are making a lot more when it comes from the amount they're making from fuel taxes. Mr. Deb, do you have a counter to that?
You see, basically they are trying to confuse the entire thing. They should take the burden on their shoulder that yes, they should admit that yes, it is their responsibility. Petrol comes under the central government, fuel comes under the central government, and the petroleum products come under the central government. What about the cooking gas? Ask them, what about the cooking gas? It has shot up to 1,000 rupees. For that also, are the state governments responsible? Is Mamata Banerjee responsible
All
for
right,
that?
sir. Sir, but if
They
we
should
focus,
take the
one
burden
second.
on them.
So, one second. If we focus on this particular point, the amount states are making of the tax and this comparison point that Mr. Poonawalla has brought up, I'd like to understand specifically with that, why can't the TMC, and not just the TMC, a number of other opposition ruled states across the country, why is it not possible? Explain for our audiences, if you could, why it's not possible to reduce the tax more in this area.
I am again repeating that central government has many resources of revenue, whereas the state governments, they have very limited resources. And in that limited resources, they have to pull their expenditure. But still, Mamata Banerjee has tried to give relief to the people of the West Bengal in various ways. But the petroleum products, and especially the petroleum department, this is under the central government. And central government should take the initiative to reduce it. They should understand that due to the rise in the diesel and petrol prices, the cost of the common things, the cost of the regular needs has gone up like anything. So they should take the responsibility and see that the petroleum products are going down and the cost of the diesel and petrol goes down. But they have not done anything to take any action on this particular aspect. And they are just blaming the state governments who have very limited resources of revenue. And moreover, you see, who is responsible for the rise in the cooking gas? It is rupees 1,000 now.
Mr. Deb,
I'd
I'd like to request if you could just stay with us. For our audiences, we've now heard from the TMC, we've also heard from the BJP. Mr. Poonawalla, please also stay with us, because I now want to bring in for our audiences one more voice here, one more government led right now by an opposition party. This is Andhra Pradesh. We're talking about the YSRCP. We have Ravi Chandra Reddy from the YSRCP with us on the show right now. Mr. Reddy, we just heard from Prime Minister Modi. Prime Minister Modi called out a number of states and he asked why they were not reducing fuel taxes. Now, we've just heard from both the BJP and the TMC government in West Bengal talking about why the West Bengal government in particular has not, how dependent it is on fuel taxes. I'd like to know what your perspective is, particularly when it comes to Andhra Pradesh. Do tell us.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Reddy, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I'm getting your voice.
Mr. Reddy, could you tell me
Can
your reaction? Yes, please tell us your reaction to what the Prime Minister had to say.
Our reaction is very clear and loud. Central government cannot blame state government, irrespective of any government, it may be in any state. Central government is collecting 27 rupees in name of various cess directly for the central government benefit, not sharing anything in the 27 rupees per litre amount with the states. Is the huge burden actually lying each and every customer paying for each and every litre? And they are denying the fact. They want to blame state government, irrespective of they may be BJP governments also. But they cannot throw the blame on state government. It is the sheer responsibility of the central government to decrease or to share the revenue of that various cess imposed by central government to collect directly. About 27 rupees per litre is actual thing the public has to know.
Mr. Reddy, stay with us. Mr. Reddy, stay with us, please. I want to bring in one more opposition party right now. I think we're trying right now to bring you voices from across the spectrum, our audiences. We have with us Arvind Sawant. He's a Shiv Sena MP. He's with us right now. Mr. Sawant, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon on CNN News 18. We've heard what the Prime Minister had to say.
Minute before you carry on.
Yeah, Shahzad, just give me 1 second. I do want to bring in one more opposition voice, then we'll come back to you.
An opportunity to respond because there are 3 people who are making allegations and only 1 to defend the government position.
Right, but so we will come back to you. Right, we will, of course we will, but just give me a second. I do want to go over right now to the Shiv Sena and Mr. Sawant. Mr. Sawant, we've heard what the Prime Minister had to say right now. One of the states he called out was Maharashtra. Do tell us what your response is.
The appeal of the Honorable Prime Minister, before considering the appeal by the state, he should have made the statement that how much GST he has paid, a due, legitimate, legal payment of GST share to the state governments. How they have paid in the last 2 years. Let them show it. The government will, as far as the state governments are concerned, the revenue was basically a sale tax. Now, sale tax is not there. It has converted into a GST. Now the GST, entire amount goes to the central government and the share has to be given to the state government. Not a single incident is there during the last 2 years that the central government has paid a due payment to the state governments. How they will...
All right, I don't know if we still have that connection with Mr. Sawant, but let's go back right now to Shahzad Poonawalla. Shahzad, what we heard over there, particularly from Mr. Sawant towards the end, was a claim that we've heard a number of states make before, that the central government isn't giving them their fair share when it comes to the amount they're making from these taxes. I'd like to know your response. I'd also like to know your response to what we've had the other leaders say on the show.
See, first of all, none of them have answered why they did not cut state VAT, and especially Maharashtra. Look at the hypocrisy that if they have financial space to cut tax on imported liquor, why not on fuel? Point number one. Point number two, as far as the GST payment and compensation is concerned, in fact, let me tell you that even what the center earns, today under devolution, under finance commission, 40% goes to the states. This is a central government that actually gives states more than it ever got. And a point of another fact is that this time the government in the last 8 years has spent 90.9 lakh crores on developmental expenditure. That includes subsidies, that includes expenditure on social welfare schemes. We've been giving ration for 2 years non-stop to 80 crore people. This, if you compare with the UPA period, it was 49.9 lakh crores. So we have almost doubled our developmental and subsidy expenditure compared to the UPA, which it achieved in 10 years. We've kept inflation between 5.5% to 6.5%. We've cut central excise on petrol and diesel. But the one request that we have of the states that why don't you lower your electricity charges or why don't you lower your VAT charges? There the state governments don't want to do anything. And look, in Maharashtra, they are undertaking so many unnecessary expenditures, including construction of a luxurious MLA hostel. For that they have money, but they don't have money to actually give relief to the common man of Maharashtra. They can give relief on imported liquor, but they can't give on fuel. So, these kinds of arguments made without any facts and figures is very unwholesome in this debate. And I ask the honorable speakers from Andhra Pradesh and from West Bengal government, please tell me how much VAT have you cut on petrol? Forget everything else. We cut 5 and 10 rupees on central excise. What did you do in terms of cutting the VAT? Why don't they just place the figures in the front of the media?
All right, unfortunately, we won't actually be able to go over to them for a response. Mr. Poonawalla, thank you so much for joining us here. I'd also like to thank the representatives of both the TMC and the YSRCP and, of course, earlier Mr. Sawant from the Maharashtra government. I'd like to thank all of you for joining our show right now. We're going to very quickly move on from this topic and the Prime Minister's address now to a different story. This is a call that's coming from 3 different states right now, all BJP-led states across the country, a continued call for the Uniform Civil Code. It's a call that's growing louder in, as we've just said, the BJP-ruled states of Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh. But just a few hours ago, the All India Muslim Personal Law Board has termed the UCC unconstitutional. They've also called it an anti-minority move. Now, the Uniform Civil Code, as you might remember, it's a set of secular laws that, if applied, would be applicable to followers of all religions. Now, the AIM-PLB statement comes after you had the Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister just a few days ago, Jairam Thakur, say that the UCC, a Uniform Civil Code, is a good concept and that his government is open to implementing it. You'll remember that these statements came right after the Chief Minister of Uttarakhand made very similar. Now, my colleague Pranshu Mishra is with us right now to bring us more on this story. Pranshu, for our audiences, break down for us first what Jairam Thakur had to say and tell us a little bit more about what the implications would look like, because we have heard a little while earlier from a BJP spokesperson on this. She was saying that very slowly all BJP states are going to ask for this. So tell us a little bit more about the states that are asking for it, but also tell us more about what minority groups, especially groups like the AIM-PLB, are protesting about right now.
Well, to start with what the Muslim Personal Law Board has said, it has clearly raised the red flag, saying that, any such move by either the centre government or the BJP ruled states would be something that would be against the basic spirit of the Indian Constitution. That is what the All India Muslim Personal Law Board has to say. But, this is not for the first time that Muslim Personal Law Board is coming out and taking a position against the Uniform Civil Code. I clearly remember that on the past occasions, last year and also before that, the similar position has been taken. Muslim Personal Law Board's concern is that the provisions of Uniform Civil Code or bringing a Uniform Civil Code will be depriving not just the Muslims, the biggest minority in India, of their basic rights, but also many other religious minorities and the cultural minorities. They have also been talking about it, how even the tribals could actually be, debarred from practicing the liberty of practicing their own ways of social living. So in that sense, what the Muslim Personal Law Board is trying to suggest is that we are not just talking about what the concerns of the Muslim community, but also how the other communities, the other minorities in the country will react to. Now, as far as what the BJP leaders have been saying, you talked about Mr. Thakur, we have heard Keshav Maurya echoing the similar sentiments. We all know that how Pushkar Singh Dhami, Uttarakhand Chief Minister, has been the first top BJP leader to say that he wants to bring the Uniform Civil Code in Uttarakhand. The challenge, however, is that any such move needs a lot of legal brainstorming. You need to bring in a perfect legislation that can actually withstand the scrutiny of a legal system, especially the Supreme Court. And I think that's the reason why there has been a lot of rhetoric at the moment, lot of statements being made by the BJP leaders. But I can tell you about Uttar Pradesh in particular. See, there is no serious drive in terms of formulating any legislation that has already been taken up. So it will clearly take a long way before a uniform civil code or a law in that regard could be actually brought in. But yes, politics clearly has started after BJP's top leaders have been reiterating their commitment around UCC.
That's my colleague Pranshu Mishra bringing us more context on the story. He's our UP Bureau Chief, but we're going to move on very quickly. We talked about this entire controversy getting fuel in the fire once again because of statements coming in from the Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister Jairam Thakur just a few days ago. He's spoken exclusively to CNN News 18, detailing his plans to implement the UCC. Opposition parties, though, have argued that this is happening all because Himachal Pradesh is close to elections. They've asked why these rules and laws weren't talked about earlier in his term. Take a look at what he had to say.
हिमाचल में आप कैसे देखते हैं यूसीसी, क्या आपका उस पे स्टैंड रहेगा?
मैंने इसमें बड़ा स्पष्ट किया है पहले भी कि हम भी एग्जामिन कर रहे हैं सारी चीज़ को, और एग्जामिन करने के बाद जो है निष्कर्ष में जाने से पहले हिमाचल के लिए क्या करना उचित रहेगा, इन सारी चीज़ों पर विचार करेंगे, उसके बाद निर्णय करेंगे.
All right, we're going to move very quickly on from that story now to an important story in the capital. You'll remember that it's just days after properties were razed by bulldozers in Delhi's Jahangirpuri after much controversy. Now we're learning that there are reports of more such action expected to take place. And what we're hearing from certain leaders is that these actions are expected to take place against, quote, Rohingyas and Bangladeshis living in illegal properties in Delhi, particularly in areas like Shaheen Bagh and Kalindi Kunj. However, how the administration will demarcate those areas remains a big question. Remember, Shaheen Bagh was also the site of the anti-CAA protest that took place in 2019 and 2020, which is why there is a lot of concern among the BJP's opposition in the city. Meanwhile, you have the Aam Aadmi Party. Their workers have held protests near the BJP offices over this demolition issue. On the other hand, you have the opposition. As we've just said, they've hit out at the BJP. They've accused them of trying to target one specific community.
सर, आज इंस्पेक्शन के लिए निकले हैं. कौन-कौन से इलाके हैं जहां ऐसा अवैध निर्माण होता हुआ दिख रहा है आपको?
अभी हम लोग पार्षद जी हमें डी ब्लॉक ले जा रहे हैं, कंचन कुंज में जा रहे हैं हम लोग. वहाँ पर काफ़ी शिकायतें आ रही, वहाँ पे कब्जे हैं, इलीगल इंक्रोचमेंट है, अवैध निर्माण है. तो उस एरिया में हम जा कर के मुआयना करेंगे. सारी टीम हमारे साथ में है अधिकारियों की, उनको भी हमने साथ में रखा हुआ है.
अच्छा, यहीं से जुड़े हुए इलाके हैं सर. शाहीन बाग आता है, वहाँ ओखला आता है. तो क्या आज इन इलाकों में भी हम देख सकते हैं कुछ कार्रवाई होते हुए?
हम अलग अलग इलाकों में अलग अलग समय पर जाते हैं. शाहीन बाग में भी एक दिन जाकर के हम जल्दी राउंड करने वाले हैं, ओखला में जल्दी राउंड करने वाले हैं.
क्या ये बुलडोजर की कार्रवाई हम आज देख सकते हैं या इसमें थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा? ये पूरे प्रोसेस
ये हमें 2 घंटे का समय चाहिए होता है कि इस चीज़ को संभालने में, ठीक करने में. तो 2 घंटे का हमें समय मिलेगा. अगर हमें लगता है कि आज कार्रवाई करनी तो हम आज भी करेंगे.
My colleague Anshul Singh, who you just saw conducting that interview with the SDMC mayor, he's with us live right now to bring us more updates. Anshul, tell us about how our protests are going against the demolitions. I know that they were on full steam just a few hours ago. So tell us more about the protests. That's question one. But question two, tell us also, when the SDMC is saying that they're going to investigate where Rohingya Muslims and migrants are present in the city, tell us a little bit more about what process they're using to identify where they are located.
So, Toya, yes, the SDMC mayor has himself come out to inspect all the illegal areas that according to him have been illegally placed. I am currently standing in Sarita Vihar, where the SDMC mayor along with his cavalcade has just reached here along with the team of experts who are trying to just show him around the areas which are said to be illegally, have been put up illegally. I'll just try and show you in the visuals. The area that you see behind me has now been earmarked by the SDMC mayor himself, and he has told his official to make sure that all the people who are living inside these encroachments should be evacuated at the earliest, and this land belongs to a DDA park according to the MCD papers. So yes, orders have been given that this encroached land should be emptied at the earliest. The people living here should be moved out at the earliest, and this land should be built into a park. And that's what the local people over here are also saying, that this area specifically should be built for a park. And the locals are also complaining about the kind of area that has been set up right across the residential area. So yes, the SDMC mayor today this is the third area in which the SDMC mayor has come ahead. After this, we are also picking up that there are a few more areas in this South Delhi municipality where he will be visiting today. All these visuals that you are seeing on air are all have been illegally encroached, and it is alleged that migrants from Bangladesh and Rohingyas have been staying in such areas. So yes, the SDMC has taken it up to them to make sure that all such areas that have been illegally encroached by people should be emptied at the earliest, and the master plan should now be implemented over here. So it remains to be seen how fast does the SDMC now work to make sure that all this encroached land is emptied at the earliest. Also, what we are picking up, that some action we can see as early as today itself, because no legal action is required for removing illegal small encroachments. So yes, some small encroachments can be removed as early as today itself. But yes, all these areas that you are seeing in the visual, this is going to take some time for the authorities to come here. And legally empty these places, so that the master plan can now be implemented here in the national capital.
Anshul, I will come back to you in a little while to try to understand how the government and how the bodies over there are determining whether or not the encroachments are those of, as they're saying, illegal immigrants, illegal Bangladeshis. That, I think, is still a big question. But right now, for our audiences, let's play out reactions that this story has got from different political parties. Take a look.
साल में पूरे दिल्ली के अंदर जगह जगह पैसे खा करके इंक्रोच करवाए गए, और उन इंक्रोचमेंट का हटाने का डर दिखा करके पैसा वसूली का धंधा शुरू हुआ है। पहले पैसा लेकर के करवाया तुमने, और अब कह रहे हो कि पैसे दो, नहीं तो बस अब हम चला देंगे, चुनाव करवाएं। ये जनता बुलडोजर चलाएगी, इनके जितने ये सपने हैं उनको। भ्रष्टाचार की राजनीति दिल्ली में नहीं चलेगी।
All right, that is a fast developing story. My colleague Anshul on the ground will be bringing you more updates. That is all that we have for you here on the 1 p.m. show on CNN News 18. Thank you so much for watching. Let's take a slight break to something a little different. India's leading financial subscription service, Money Control iPro, is celebrating its 3rd anniversary with a special offer. Get a Money Control iPro subscription for ₹1 per day, and Avail offers more than 1 lakh rupees. Now, that's all that we have for you here on the show. Next, my colleague Shivani is with you at 2 p.m.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. I'm Shivani Gupta. You're watching CNN News 18. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has dropped a bit of a fuel bomb in the backdrop of the Prime Minister and Chief Minister COVID meeting that concluded just a short while ago. Narendra Modi has asked several opposition states to cut fuel tax. He has said that because high fuel prices are there currently because of global factors, state governments need to do their part too in bringing down the fuel prices. He said that centre had initiated a fuel tax cut. Some states followed, but many did not. Prime Minister also particularly named states like Maharashtra, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Telangana for earning more revenue, and asked these states to cooperate and slash the fuel tax. Now, if you would notice, all of these are non-BJP ruled states, and in fact, regional parties that are very, very opposed to the BJP. So this has expectedly initiated a fuel face-off.
जैसे पेट्रोल डीजल की कीमतों का एक विषय हम सबके सामने है।
देशवासियों पर पेट्रोल डीजल की बढ़ती कीमत का बोझ कम करने के लिए केंद्र सरकार ने एक्साइज ड्यूटी में कमी की थी। पिछले नवंबर महीने में कम की थी। केंद्र सरकार ने राज्यों से भी आग्रह किया था कि वो अपने यहां टैक्स कम करे और ये बेनिफिट नागरिकों को ट्रांसफर करे। इसके बाद कुछ राज्यों ने तो भारत सरकार की इस भावना के अनुरूप यहां टैक्स कम कर दिया, लेकिन कुछ राज्यों द्वारा अपने राज्य के लोगों को इसका कोई लाभ नहीं दिया गया। इस वजह से पेट्रोल डीजल की कीमतें इन राज्यों में अब भी दूसरों के मुकाबले कहीं ज्यादा है। जैसा हम जानते हैं कि पिछले साल नवंबर महीने में वैट कम करने की बात की थी, सबको मैंने प्रार्थना की थी, लेकिन कई राज्य, मैं यहां किसी की आलोचना नहीं कर रहा हूं, मैं सिर्फ आपसे प्रार्थना कर रहा हूं, आपके राज्य के नागरिकों की भलाई के लिए प्रार्थना कर रहा हूं। अब जैसे उस समय 6 महीने पहले कुछ राज्यों ने बात को माना, कुछ राज्यों ने नहीं माना। अब कई राज्य जैसे महाराष्ट्र, पश्चिम बंगाल, तेलंगाना, आंध्र प्रदेश, तमिलनाडु, केरला, झारखंड, किसी न किसी कारण से उन्होंने इस बात को नहीं माना और उनके राज्य को, नागरिकों को बोझ कंटिन्यू रहा। मैं इस बात में नहीं जाऊंगा कि इस दौरान इन राज्यों ने कितना रेवेन्यू कमाया, लेकिन अब आपसे मेरी प्रार्थना है कि देश हित में आप पिछले नवंबर में जो करना था, 6 महीने डिले हो चुका है, अब भी आप अपने राज्य के नागरिकों को वैट कम करके इसका बेनिफिट पहुंचाइए।
और हरियाणा कांग्रेस को एक नया अध्यक्ष उदय भान के रूप में मिला।
देखिए, सबसे पहले मैं कांग्रेस नेतृत्व का धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूं, श्रीमती सोनिया गांधी जी का, राहुल जी का, प्रियंका जी का, जिन्होंने एक ऐसा निर्णय लिया जो एक बहुत स्पष्ट संदेश आज हरियाणा के अंदर गया है। कांग्रेस पार्टी एकजुटता से 14 जनवरी।
We're also getting some updates now coming in. Karnataka Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai has said that in the coming days, he will look at the financial situation of the state and decide on reducing taxes on petrol and diesel, at least as far as Karnataka is concerned. So there is already one BJP state that has responded positively to the Prime Minister's request that the state governments must look at fuel prices and follow the centre's cut. I want to quickly go across to my colleague Arun Dhata also, who's joining us. Arun, obviously the Prime Minister's comments are not going to be taken very well by certain opposition rule states. But what do the numbers say? Where are the fuel prices standing in states that have offered cuts and in states that haven't?
Well, first of all, Shivani, it's a first response coming from the Prime Minister Modi. In last couple of weeks, we have seen that opposition parties were targeting the government, especially the Prime Minister Modi, that why he's not responding on the high prices of the fuels. And today, when Prime Minister Modi was holding that virtual meeting with the chief ministers, pointed out the problems. In November, when the central government reduced the excise taxes, at that point in time, various states reduced their state VAT as well. But there were few states which Prime Minister Modi named did not reduce those taxes. And Prime Minister Modi was very pointed as far as talking about those states, that the benefits which other states gave at that point in time to the people of the states, there are few states who did not give that benefit to the people. And now, after this Prime Minister Modi's, when he urged the states to go for it, we just got the response coming from the Karnataka's chief minister, who's saying that they will see the situation, financial situation of the state, and then they will decide the further cut in the state VAT. Remember that Karnataka was one such state in the month of November, which reduced the state VAT. So Prime Minister Modi, speaking on the fuel prices is something which is very, very important, and in fact he also highlighted the reason behind this price hike. He's saying that internationally we know what is happening, and in fact the various other ministers have been saying this fact that the situation between Russia and Ukraine is responsible, and also the pandemic. So these are the factors which they have been saying, but Prime Minister Modi had not spoken on this, but today he has chosen this platform, and he has said that I'm not complaining or blaming any state, but this could be done. The benefit could have easily given to the people, and there were few states who did that, but there are few states which he named did not do so.
Okay. I also want to quickly go across to our guests who are joining us now. Suman C. Raman is political activist, analyst. Also, Tushar Gupta is senior editor, Swarajya magazine. Suman, let me take your view first up. I know there's a lot of bickering that's going to happen on this because the Prime Minister has said it. But he has made a request. He said that this is obviously not an order or any criticism. It is a request because we need to pass on the benefit to the consumer. Why should any state be have any problems with it? Because the reality is that many states did not cut the VAT that comes from the state side on fuel in the past few months.
Look, I think it is a bit rich for the Honorable Prime Minister to put the blame partly on the states. Look, what the Prime Minister mentioned, that there was a cut in excise in November, is true. What he did not mention, however, is another 10 rupees has been increased after that. So, for all practical purposes, the benefit of that 10 rupees cut in excise hardly lasted for 4 months. Second, if the fuel prices are fixed with the market price, which is what the government claims, how come there was no change for 4 months in the run-up to the election?
Can I just request you to just hold your thoughts, Suman C. Raman? I'm going to come back to you. Let me in fact take that and more of the reactions we've got to Amit Malviya, the BJP IT cell head also. Amit Malviya, the opposition is naturally asking the question that it's a bit rich for the Prime Minister or the central government to say that you do the VAT cut, but most states cannot afford to do it. They look at the centre to take that burden.
So we have to understand petroleum pricing and how it works. Both the centre and the state governments make almost equal revenue as far as petroleum products are concerned. The states, in fact, get 42% of what the centre earns. The centre's levy is a fixed charge, whereas the state's levy is ad valorem, which means that higher the fuel prices, more is what the states earn. Number one. Number two, when the Prime Minister announced the cuts following the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, which sent the prices of crude in a tizzy worldwide, he also requested state governments to follow. All BJP-ruled state governments and some like the one in Odisha also followed suit. The only ones who did not do were Congress-ruled, those from Andhra and Telangana, and of course Mamata Banerjee. Today, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Kerala are the states which have the highest fuel prices. Why is it that only opposition-ruled states have not cut state levies, whereas all other states have? How is it that the other states are efficiently run and the Congress and its allies and Mamata Banerjee and Jagan Reddy and TRS are not doing an efficient job?
No, so why is it? What are you saying? What are you hinting at? Why is it that opposition-ruled states are not cutting the taxes?
Because the opposition-ruled states does not want to pass on the benefits to the end consumer, and that is why they have not cut levies. They have in fact earned huge sums of money running in thousands of crores. These state governments charge almost double the price and state levies as compared to the other states run by the BJP. So if you are being greedy and if you want to keep burdening the consumer, there is very little that the central government can do to help citizens in your state till the time the BJP government takes over these states. That is the reality today.
But why wouldn't state governments want to pass on that benefit if it hurts them politically as well?
Well, that's a good question, but you must ask that to Mamata Banerjee, to Ashok Gehlot, to Uddhav Thackeray, to Stalin, to Jagan Reddy, and to TRS, Chief Minister. The fact is that they do not want to be following suit if the central government has put out an advisory, because somewhere they believe that this will benefit Prime Minister Modi. So they find it convenient to politic.
Okay.
On the one hand, make huge sums of money, and on the other side, blame the central government. That is what the opposition politics has been as far as petroleum prices is concerned.
Okay, I take your point. Thank you for joining us, Amit Malviya. Let me take that directly to Suman C. Raman, who was speaking before. So, Suman, that's the response that is coming in from the BJP, that ultimately opposition ruled states not cutting prices or the taxes that they get in their kitty is purely for politics. Because when price rise happens or when fuel prices rise, in the mind of the public, the blame goes to the center. That's why they don't want to do it.
Now let us look at the facts of what Mr. Amit Malviya said. Point number one, center and states get equal share is not correct. In most states, it is closer to center taking 2/3 of the share of taxes and the states getting 1/3 of the share. It is closer somewhere in that range. That is point number one. Point number two, all states get 42% of what the center gets is absolutely untrue, for the simple reason that consistently the center has added cess, on which this amount which is put as cess is not being shared with the states. In fact, the Tamil Nadu Finance Minister, Mr. PTR Tyagarajan, has been, raising this issue repeatedly, that every time you increase the price, you increase it in the form of a cess, and that cess amount is not being shared with the states. So this whole argument that 42% is being given from that center share is completely untrue. So I think you have to look at two things. One, the fact that government is able to hold prices every time there are elections for months together. How on earth is that possible? The crude oil prices went up somewhere at least $25 to $30 during in the run-up to the elections. Petrol, diesel prices did not change by 1 rupee for 4 months.
All right.
Why?
Let me take that point to Tushar Gupta, who's joining us. Tushar, how would you respond to what Sumant is saying?
See, there is a political and economic angle to it. You asked a very good question as to why the states are not passing on the benefits to the consumer. The economic argument here is that the states also need their share of monetary resources because of the economy some of these opposition states are running. You look at what's happening in Punjab, you look at what's happening in Rajasthan, for instance, or West Bengal. These states really need to come up with a model where the economy is sustainable. Just a few days back, you had a report where the state deficit of several opposition ruled states was being put under question. So when they see an opportunity like this where they can cash in on the VAT benefits from the fuel prices, they do it. That's the economic argument of it, fair and simple. The political argument, look, it's a very simple statement. In India, every time the fuel prices go up, the center is the one that takes the blame. That is how the politics of the country is. So today, if the Prime Minister is coming out requesting the opposition ruled governments to slash the VAT prices, at least in their states, he's making a political statement. And if it happens say in Rajasthan or it happens in West Bengal, the credit would also go to the Prime Minister, which is why you would see a lot of opposition states not really going for the move. That's the truth. Because every time there is an inflation problem, right now we have a global inflation problem. The blame would lie with the center. But at the same point, the states also need to do more in improving their financial situation.
No, that's a good point. I will give Sumant an opportunity to respond to that. States cannot say they don't have money if they also give freebies every time they come to power. That is also a reality. You have to get your finances in order. But I want to play out a Congress reaction that's coming in. The Congress party expectedly has slammed Prime Minister Narendra Modi over this fuel request. Party spokesperson Pawan Khera is saying that why has the centre not shared the money it earned from central excise with the states? Listen in.
What kind of a cooperative federalism which only has a one-way traffic? Cooperative federalism is a two-way traffic. Perhaps the Prime Minister should go back to his civics books again. What is he talking about? 26 lakh crores he's earned out of central excise, the central government has earned on petrol and diesel. Has he shared it? What is the account of that 26 lakh crore rupees? You don't give the share of the states of GST in time, which is your constitutional obligation, and then you come and ask the states to further reduce VAT. He should show the way, reduce central excise, and then ask others to reduce VAT.
Okay. So Congress government is obviously also, the Congress is reminding the central government of what true cooperative federalism is. Let Sumant come in. Tushar, I'll give you a chance to respond to that. Yes, Sumant, the problem is, can I frame my question? The problem is you say we don't have money, but then state governments cannot just wash their hands of what is a state responsibility. I mean, we cannot have a situation when state governments don't want to take responsibility for anything. Even law and order, they often pass on to the center government. So what are state governments there for?
No, first, before that, let me, puncture the claim that Mr. Amit Malviya made. In 2021, the center collected 4,09,000 crore as cess and surcharge. This was just 92,000 crore in 2011-2012. Now it is 4,09,000 crore. Now this 4,09,000 crore is not shared with the states at all. Please understand, this is not included in the divisible pool for the taxes.
But the center has need for this money. The point is, we can't argue that the center is making money. We know that it is. But the center funds stuff, right? All of the vaccination in the country was funded by the center.
One second.
There are other infrastructural projects that the center funds. What is the problem here if it's making money?
27 lakh crore is believed to be the additional collections over the last few years by the center on fuel taxes. Now, the vaccine cost and various other costs which the central ministers themselves have highlighted hardly cost more than 3 to 4 lakh crores. Now, what is the other 20 lakh crore being used for is something that the center must say. But more importantly, the fact that had it just been excise that had been increased, the states would have got a larger share. But from 10%, the share of cess and surcharges is now 19%. It's almost 20% now, which the center does not share with the state. So please, Mr. Malviya must correct that. But the BJP spokesperson who was on the show has not said how was it possible for the center not to increase the price of petrol and diesel for 4 months in the run-up to the elections, even though the international crude oil prices were going up steadily.
Okay, fair point. Let Tushar respond to both of what you're saying, that the states don't get that kind of a share as far as fuel prices, taxes are concerned. And secondly, there is clear, political angle involved here, because for 4 months you could control the price rise as far as fuel prices is concerned. The moment elections are over, it went up.
Shivani, isn't that more the reason states should invest in a sustainable financial model? If I'm to agree with my fellow panelist, he says that the center is not giving states their respective due of monetary resources. Let's agree to that for a second. Let's assume he's right. Then why are the states not investing in a sustainable financial model? Every time there is an election, the Congress comes forward and says, we are going to give this for free. We are going to have waivers for the farmers. We are going to make electricity cheaper. We are going to do this. We are going to do that. Just a couple of days ago, Rajasthan announced a new old age pension scheme. So every time there is something that is electoral benefits, they have all the money in the world. But when it came to procuring the vaccines, they looked towards the center. When it came to procuring ration during the 2 years of the pandemic, they looked towards the center. When it comes to the fuel prices and the whole challenges around it, the geopolitical challenge around it, they look to the center. Today, they are asking that for 4 months, the prices were not raised. In India, fuel is a political question. Let's be very honest about it. So why would the government raise? Would the Congress have raised the fuel prices had they been in power? What did the Congress do in 2012-13 with the whole oil bonds, which the government is paying for even until now?
Okay. So can I just hold your thought? One second, gentlemen, just 1 second. Let me also bring in Maria Shakil, my colleague who's joining us. Maria, a lot of questions, a barrage of questions are coming in from the opposition parties, naturally and expectedly so, who are saying that, you controlled price of the fuel for 4 months, and the moment elections were over, prices started going up, and the center gets a disproportionate amount as far as the taxes on fuel is concerned.
Yes, so the center's explanation is coming in the form of details, that is revenue which has been foregone so far by the states that did cut their VAT rate, and the additional revenue that has been earned by states that did not cut VAT rate. So the charge is that for all the charge that has been leveled by the Congress party against the center, that they are going ahead and not cutting fuel prices, then this is the center's response to all the charge. That if anything, it is the state governments which have to do their part now in order to ensure that the fuel prices are controlled. So I think this is something that has played out in this domain of center versus state in the past as well, Shivani. It will continue to be. because as far as the GST collections are concerned, multiple states have been saying that the GST collection continues to be record, but why is not being also, the states not getting their share in that, the amount that is being generated. So I think this is a debate that will continue over the next few weeks, and expect sharper reactions perhaps coming from Tamil Nadu and other states.
Okay. I also want to go across to Shehzad Poonawalla of the BJP and Brijesh Kalappa of the Congress party joining us. Let Brijesh Kalappa come in first on the Congress party's opposition to what the Prime Minister has said, and Shehzad, you can respond after that. Brijesh Kalappa, can you hear me? Okay, unlikely that he can hear me just yet. But Shehzad, already there are some reactions that have come in. The Congress has questioned, for example, that why is it that the money due to states earned from central excises is not being given to the states?
In fact, Shivani, this is the government under the Finance Commission devolution plan. 40% of the revenue of the center is now shared with the states. So it's historic sharing that happens. In fact, this central government in the last 8 years has spent 90.9 lakh crore on subsidies and developmental expenditure, which was just 49.9 lakh crore under the UPA's 10 years. And by the way, let's now talk about inflation and price rise. A liter of petrol in Mumbai costs 120 per liter, whereas it costs 105 in Noida. And the reason for this is that Maharashtra government has the time and energy and space to cut taxes on imported liquor, but not VAT on fuel. And this is what the Prime Minister has articulated. When we cut central excise in November by 5 and 10 rupees on petrol and diesel, there were states like Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, West Bengal, Jharkhand, none of them cut anything. Why
the states say, Shehzad, the states say that they just don't have that maneuvering room in their budgets, in their finances to do so. The centre may have.
Well, I just told you that it is the central government that is in fact now spending almost double of the developmental and subsidy expenditure that UPA used to do. So therefore, we are paying for the free rations for 80 crore people for the last 2 years, which has been extended by 6 more months. But they have space to cut taxes on imported liquor, but they can't cut taxes on electricity, or they can't cut taxes on fuel. That argument doesn't hold. And let me give you another statistic. The fact of the matter is that despite the COVID challenge, the average inflation rate, retail inflation rate has been between 5.5% to 6.5%, and it has gone up more than 6.5% 1 or 2 times in this entire period. Whereas during the UPA, it was 9% on average. It cost 10% 9 times, and they did not even have the COVID pandemic to deal with. These are hard facts that the Congress party, the opposition, can't answer.
Okay.
They must answer
I'm
this
not
one
sure
question.
if
Why
Brijesh
wasn't
Kalappa
that
is with us just yet, but I will ask you a question that the Congress party is saying that, asking the states to do their part in the spirit of cooperative federalism is not right when the central government led by Narendra Modi, this is a charge that the Congress party has made, is not following cooperative federalism itself.
Well, that can be an allegation made in thin air, but the fact of the matter is, look what the centre has done. The centre has cut crude oil, duty on crude palm oil from 35% to almost 8% on sunflower and soybean oil from 38% to 5.5%. These are all reliefs worth 20,000 crores given by the centre. They are giving 38 lakh tons of metric tons of food grain free to all the states to provide food and rations to poorest people in their states.
Okay, so your central point is that despite having some or two of the toughest years that the world has seen, India has actually handled economically and otherwise, inflation-wise, the situation much better. The centre has taken most of that load. The states must also pitch in. Sumant, you want to come in here?
Look, I am asking 3 questions from the start of the show, none of which have been answered. The question is, why have cess and surcharge, which is not being shared with the states, gone up from 10% to 20% of the overall taxes? That is the key question. If the centre merely raised the excise alone, the states would get more money because of the division of the divisible pool of taxes. What the centre is cleverly doing is they are imposing it as a cess or surcharge. This money is not going to the states. Why are they doing that? Point number 1, that has not been answered. Second, the entire sum of money which they're talking of for vaccines, paying off UPA era bonds and all that, hardly comes to 2.5 to 3 lakh crores. Even keep it as 5 lakh crores. 27 lakh crore has been collected. So there needs
No,
to
but
be some
Shehzad answered your
simplification.
question. No, the
He did not answer
expenditure,
the question. Why
the
is-
expenditure to
why-
infrastructure has gone up many folds. On top of that, during COVID, we had additional challenges. He talked about how free ration has
Exactly,
been
how
given
much?
to the poorest, but all actually
Exactly, how
actually
much?
80% of the almost I think 60-70% of the country for free for nearly 2 years now.
No, no, no.
Where does the money for
point
all of
is-
that come from? Your central argument is that your central argument, Sumant, is that the
central
center is
argument-
making money.
no,
That cannot
my
be an
central
argument.
is not that. My central argument is the amount collected in increased fuel cess far exceeds these 3 or 4 items which are mentioned, including petroleum bonds of the UPA government, including the amount that has been spent on vaccines and the amount that has been spent on rations over the COVID period.
What about
That
additional
is my simple
infrastructure that the
point.
government has
Additional-
committed
No, no,
under
one
Atmanirbhar
second.
Bharat program?
One second. The provision of additional infrastructure has to be also keeping in mind the enormous burden that the people are put to. All that is needed now is.
But
for
that
the Election
burden is
Commission-
not a
Wait, 1 minute.
burden when it comes to state responsibility.
No,
That's what
no,
you're
1
saying.
minute. States
No,
are
I have
getting
no.
much
One second. I
smaller
take your
amount.
point. I think some of you have articulated your points 2-3 times now, as you yourself are saying. Tushar will. Yes, so I'll give an opportunity to Tushar to respond. But the point is that what continuously happens is that a lot of the things that the states want to have control over, they will say, "Oh, this is our job, our subject. Don't you dare interfere." Whatever they don't want to deal, even if it's a part of their responsibility, they'll say, let the center deal with it. We saw this play out for 2 years now, especially in the context of COVID. That's a problem. If you have a state government, if we elect state governments have a certain responsibility. They just cannot keep on saying the center must do everything. But Tushar will respond to what Sumant is saying.
See, Shivani, the excise was cut in October, November 2021. And after that, until the election results, there was no hike in petrol prices. Did the opposition rule states cut their VAT share then? They did not. Now, the states have made a killing on the fuel prices. To make this argument that the center and the state are catering to different set of people is incorrect. Even the center is spending on the same people, and the state also has to spend on the same people within their state. So to make an argument out, the center is somehow trying to pocket some money out of this whole fuel price game is a very childish argument to make. We also have to register for the losses in the 2 years on the taxation front. We've just not increased our expenditure. The revenue sources for the government also dried up in the last 2 years. So if the government is making some money off the fuel prices, it's not it's pocketing it for something else. It's not it's giving away freebies. That is the states that are doing it. Again, the center is not announcing freebies. The state governments are. So my central question is, if the state government are so deprived of their financial situation, are in so much struggle, so much problem, where do they find the money to give waivers to the farmers, to give subsidies, endless subsidies to the farmers? You look at Arvind Kejriwal in Punjab. He's announced cash transfers for women. He and the state is in the debt of 2.5 lakh crore as of today. Where does he get the money?
And then they'll say that center should give us more money.
And the same people will then stand up and say that the center owes us money.
Exactly. Then they'll say, we need more, give us more money. Where is the accountability in managing your own state?
Whose money is it? It's the money which is being collected from the states.
No, but there has to be accountability on how it is spent.
Center doesn't have any money of its own. It's
No
only the
government
money
does.
contributed in
That's not how the government
No government does. I mean, what you're saying, we know. That's a given.
As if it's the money which is.
No, but you also made it sound like the money that center is making, somehow they're pocketing themselves, right? It's also going to the public.
The point is the efficiency of the government, if it was being run, would certainly permit reducing the fuel rates or at least passing on more of the revenues to the state.
Okay, whether this is truly about economics or whether this is about politics, let the public judge that. I've run out of time. I do thank both of you for joining us. We'll slip into a very short break. More news and updates in just a bit.
As a free speech platform, the deal is likely to close at the end of the year, subject to the approval of the company's shareholders. Once that deal goes through, here's what is likely to change at Twitter. Musk, for example, has pledged to focus on free speech. He calls himself a free speech absolutist, as well as restrict any form of content moderation, which means that previously banned users like Donald Trump might probably make a comeback on Twitter. The Tesla CEO has also promised to make the algorithm open source so that users know how the code works and how the code restricts the kind of content that it does. Musk also recently had promised in a tweet that he would defeat bots. He would also ensure that all humans are authenticated with a blue tick mark. Will Musk's takeover be good for Twitter? Well, let's compare Tesla's rise over the last 10 years or so with that of Twitter. Now, Tesla is a $1 trillion company. The offer that's been made for Twitter is $44 billion. So it's a minuscule, it's a drop in the ocean. Tesla, the share was worth $4.92 in 2011. Today, it's almost $1,000. Twitter was $26 worth in 2013. It's gone up just to $40 right now, so in the last 10 years. If we were to look at the net income, Tesla is at $3 billion in Q4 of 2021. Twitter made just $1.57 billion in the Q4 of 2021. It's a mid-air stunt that's gone wrong in a heart-stopping video. Two pilots attempted a mid-air plane swap, but things didn't go quite according to plan. One of the two aircrafts involved spiraled out of control. It crash-landed. This happened in Arizona in the United States. Thankfully, the skydivers are safe and no injuries have been reported.
The pavement in city's Sanjay Nagar area. He stepped on a loose wire and got electrocuted to death.
You can see the wire that is hung on a tree where while walking on a footpath with one of his cousins, he tried touching this wire and that's when he was being electrocuted and died on spot.
While an FIR has been filed in the case, the victim's grieving family protested outside the Bangalore Electric Supply Company, demanding answers. Bescom on its part has passed the buck and blamed an internet cable company. Shockingly enough, it was only 2 weeks ago that a 21-year-old man died when he came in contact with a live wire that had snapped due to heavy rains in Bangalore.
Bangalore infrastructure is in a bad shape. First of all, Bangalore has to be cleaned up.
Negligence, apathy, neglect. How many more deaths will it take for Bengaluru to wake up?
Meanwhile, 3 Chinese nationals were killed in a suicide blast outside the Karachi University today.
The Chinese nationals were traveling in a car which exploded on the premises of the university. Dramatic CCTV footage shows the woman suicide bomber dressed in a burqa and turning towards the van. This is followed by an instantaneous explosion. The Baloch Liberation Army has claimed responsibility for the attack. This is the first major attack on Chinese nationals in Pakistan since the bombing of a bus at Dasu in 2021, which killed 9 Chinese nationals.
Meanwhile, the Chinese embassy in Pakistan has strongly condemned the terror attack. It's urged Pakistan to conduct a thorough investigation and punish the perpetrators. Pakistan Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif, in fact, visited the Chinese embassy to personally condole the deaths of the Chinese nationals. Drone footage shows villages in Luhansk Oblast completely destroyed in Russian fighting. The Ukrainian government and the Luhansk administration claim that Russian forces have been repelled, but what they have left behind is a sea of destruction. Smoke is seen rising from the Ukrainian city of Chmerinka. This is in the aftermath of Russian shelling, which resulted in at least 5 deaths. Russian forces fired missiles at transport infrastructure facilities in the city, leading to widespread destruction. An electrical substation near the Ukrainian city of Krasny was hit by a Russian missile strike. This substation handled power supply.
Welcome back. Days after some properties were razed in Delhi's Jahangirpuri, more such actions are expected by the municipal corporations in the national capital. Now, there has been a survey of such properties done in areas like Shaheen Bagh and Kalindi Kunj. Remember, these were the epicenters of anti-CA protests as well. Meanwhile, Aam Aadmi Party workers held a protest near the BJP office over the demolition issue. On the other hand, the opposition has also hit out at the BJP, accusing them of trying to target one specific community. SDMC Mayor has concluded his inspection visit today and he will be visiting Shaheen Bagh tomorrow to decide on the anti-encroachment drive in the area. Let's listen in to what he's saying.
सर आज कौन-कौन से इलाकों में आप घूम के आए, कौन-कौन से इलाकों में
काफी एरिया हमने कवर कर लिया है, बहुत सारी कॉलोनियां हमने कवर की हैं और वहाँ पर कई जगह पर इलीगल इंक्रोचमेंट अवैध निर्माण देखने को मिला, उन सब पर कार्रवाई करेंगे। कार्रवाई आज भी हुई है, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं वो छोटे रूप में हुई है। कल से या परसों से बड़ी कार्रवाई को अंजाम देंगे और सारी चीजों को मुक्त करेंगे।
शाहीन बाग जाने की बात हो रही थी,
शाहीन बाग से पार्षद से आज संपर्क नहीं हो पाया, उनसे संपर्क करेंगे तो कल या परसों में वहाँ दौरा हम लगाएंगे।
तो अभी इन लोगों को नोटिस दे दिया गया है या बिना नोटिस के इनका अतिक्रमण हटाया जाएगा?
जहाँ नोटिस की प्रक्रिया है, जहाँ देना वहाँ देंगे, जहाँ नोटिस की जरूरत है वहाँ नोटिस देने की जरूरत नहीं। अतिक्रमण हटाने के लिए मेजरली नोटिस देने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती है।
तो जिन लोगों के अंडर जिन डिपार्टमेंट की वजह से अतिक्रमण हुआ, उनके अगेंस्ट भी कुछ एक्शन लिया जाएगा?
उनको भी हम लोग एक ज्वाइंट मीटिंग हम लोग करेंगे और सबको ऑन टेबल बैठा करके एक पत्राचार के माध्यम से सबको इन्फॉर्म करके कब्जा हटाने का प्रक्रिया चालू करेंगे।
So more such drives are going to be undertaken. Anshul, my colleague, is also joining us live. Anshul, when the Jahangirpuri drive happened, at that time also the North MCD mayor had said that we actually do these drives regularly. It's just that the Jahangirpuri one is getting more, is making more headlines. Is this also an attempt by the MCD ruled by the BJP to show that these drives will continue, that they weren't selective or in one particular area? And will that cut ice with the opposition? Because once again, there is a political row over Shaheen Bagh being chosen as a site.
So yes, I asked this very question to the SDMC mayor, and if this is actually politically motivated. He said that such drives are conducted by the municipal corporations on a regular basis, and areas are earmarked by them with those areas that according to them have been illegally occupied. Now here, the areas that the mayor visited today, I was with him along all the routes that he went through, and the areas which he visited today basically were the areas where it is alleged that Bangladeshis and Rohingya Muslims have come there and are staying in those areas. So yes, all those areas have been visited by them, and all these areas have been earmarked, especially here in Sarita Vihar. We saw one area which was said to be occupied by the Rohingyas who have now been settled over here, and the area in which they have settled, the land on which they have settled, belongs to the DDA, and a DDA park, according to the master plan that was built, a DDA park was supposed to be built in that area, and locals have been complaining of these illegal settlements. So yes, the SDMC mayor came out today, visited all these sites, and he has personally gone ahead and earmarked each and every location on which action could be taken. So yes, today very few such actions was taken. A few of the areas were closed down by the local municipalities and the local councillors. However, no big action was seen today. It was expected that some big action we might be seeing today, and that was what the mayor has been saying since morning. But no big action has been seen today. And also the mayor was supposed to go to Shaheen Bagh today, but according to him, he did not get a chance to contact the local councillor of the area. The local councillor of the area was not available for this meeting with the
Anshul, can I also ask you a quick question? Does the MCD fear that there may be more legal hurdles placed as far as these drives is concerned, as we saw in the case of Jahangirpuri, where the drive had to be called off at least for 2 weeks as the matter is now pending with the Supreme Court?
So according to law and the legal terminologies, it is not a legal notice is not required, or an official notice is not required to demolish small illegal structures. So that is what on which the MCD is banking right now, and they are going ahead to demolish all these small illegal structures, and a legal notice is hence not required to be given, or a prior notice is hence not required to be given to these people whose encroachments will be small encroachments will be demolished. So yes, this is the point on which the SDMC will be banking on right now, and we can see from tomorrow massive anti-encroachment drive being carried out in this area adjoining Noida. Currently I am standing in Sarita Vihar, where a few areas have been earmarked by the mayor himself, and tomorrow it is expected that we can go ahead and see some reaction and some anti-encroachment drive being carried out by the SDMC. Shivani.
All right, Anshul, thanks a lot for joining us. That's what the MCD had said earlier too, that when it's about shanties on the footpath or on public land which encroach upon roads or pavements, there is actually no need to serve notices. It is the pakka structures that need notices and some arbitration to take place. Moving on, Hindu groups and the BJP have taken to the streets in Alwar today after a 300-year-old Hindu temple was razed in the name of an anti-encroachment drive. Hindu groups took a march out from Alwar's Shaheed Smarak to Collectorate, claiming the state government action was selective and anti-Hindu. Protesting groups demand the reconstruction of the temple and the Chief Minister's resignation. Hitting back at the BJP though, Congress has said that it was BJP that was leading the municipal corporation that took the action, and Gehlot government is willing to reconstruct the temple.
मकसद यही है कि जिस प्रकार से तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति ये राजस्थान सरकार लगातार कर रही है, हिंदू समाज इसको बिल्कुल सहन नहीं करेगा। सरकार अपनी हरकतों से बाज आए। ज्ञापन की मांगे, जो हमारी मांगे पूर्व में थी कि जो भी अधिकारी हैं उनको सख्त से सख्त सजा दी जाए, मंदिर का पुनर्निर्माण करा जाए, और जिस प्रकार से हमारे अलवर के साथ में कठुम्बर में गौशाला को तोड़ा गया, उसका भी पुनर्निर्माण कराया जाए। करना पड़ेगा, गहलोत को भी सस्पेंड होना पड़ेगा, गहलोत को भी पद छोड़ना पड़ेगा।
वहाँ के एसडीएम ने, वहाँ के ईओ ने, वहाँ के स्थानीय विधायक जो कांग्रेस पार्टी के हैं, जौहरीलाल जी के आदेश पर, जौहरीलाल जी के कहने पर जिस प्रकार से अतिक्रमण के नाम पर बाजार को तोड़ा, मकानों को तोड़ा, दुकानों को तोड़ा, और दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण स्थिति है कि 300 साल पुराना जो मंदिर है, महादेव जी का मंदिर था, हनुमान जी का मंदिर था, भगवान श्री राम का मंदिर था, 3 मंदिर जिस प्रकार से बर्बरतापूर्ण कार्रवाई करते तोड़े हैं, उसके विरोध स्वरूप आज सर्व समाज का एक बड़ा आंदोलन हमारे जो जितने भी संत श्री हैं उनके नेतृत्व में अलवर शहर की धरती पर उतरे हैं।
My colleague Bhavani is also joining us, keeping a track of the large protests that Hindu groups also led by the BJP have done. There is pressure mounting on the state government. As much as Bhavani, they try to say that we didn't have a role to play here, it does look badly on the state government. So what is the Congress government planning here to do? Yes, they are saying that they are willing to reconstruct, but how are they going to assuage the fears of the public there?
देखिए अब क्योंकि इसके अंदर जो एक्शन सरकार की ओर से लेना था वो तो ले चुके हैं, लेकिन इस सबसे बड़ा ये है कि अभी पॉलिटिकल इशू बनता जा रहा है, और राजस्थान में अगले साल असेंबली इलेक्शन है, और अब ये लग रहा है ऐसा कि ये जो इशू है लगातार पूरे हो सकता हो कि स्टेट्स में अलग भी और भी प्रोटेस्ट हो आगे जाकर बीजेपी करें। आज जो प्रोटेस्ट हुआ था वो जो अलवर के सांसद है बालकनाथ हैं बीजेपी के, उनकी अगुवाई के अंदर हुआ था। उसमें साधु संत काफ़ी संख्या के अंदर आए थे, उन्होंने प्रोटेस्ट किया। 3 बड़ी मांग की, एक मंदिर का पुनर्निर्माण किया जाए, और दूसरी मांग मुख्यमंत्री अशोक गहलोत से इस्तीफे की मांग की। उन्होंने कहा कि ये तुष्टीकरण की सियासत है, जिस तरीके से मंदिरों को तोड़ा गया। अब पहली बात ये है कि मंदिर को पुनर्निर्माण की बात है वहाँ पर, क्योंकि कांग्रेस का डेलीगेशन अलवर राजगढ़ गया था, और भंवर जितेंद्र सिंह जो पूर्व केंद्रीय मंत्री भी है, उन्होंने वहाँ पर ये वादा किया था कि उनकी सरकार यानी कांग्रेस की सरकार इस मंदिर का पुनर्निर्माण कराएगी। एक अगर नहीं कराती है तो वो अपनी निजी खर्चे पर वो खुद बनवाएंगे, ये वो कह कराएं। वहाँ बीजेपी का एक धरना भी चल रहा था, उसके बाद में बीजेपी का धरना खत्म हो गया था, लेकिन बीजेपी इससे आगे बढ़ रही है। सरकार ने 3 को सस्पेंड भी किया, उसमें एक जो एसडीएम है, लोकल एसडीएम है राजगढ़ के, उनको सस्पेंड कर दिया। ईओ है नगर पालिका का, उनको सस्पेंड कर दिया। नगर पालिका के चेयरमैन को सस्पेंड किया, वो बीजेपी के। लेकिन ये मांग कर रहे हैं कि ये सस्पेंड करना पर्याप्त नहीं है, क्योंकि जिस तरीके का एक्शन है उसमें बड़ी कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए, यानी इनके खिलाफ केस दर्ज होना चाहिए, एसडीएम समेत तमाम अफसरों के खिलाफ कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए। दूसरा, क्योंकि मुख्यमंत्री अशोक गहलोत की एक नैतिक जवाबदेही बनती है, और वो होम मिनिस्टर भी है स्टेट के, और ये सब कुछ हुआ तो उनको ये जिम्मेदारी खुद लेनी चाहिए।
तो ये कांग्रेस और Bhavani, I do appreciate you joining us and really breaking down what both sides are saying as far as this face-off is concerned. Whether the state government will actually be able to correct the situation is a big question. We have to slip into a very short break, but as I do that, it's the 21st Foundation Day of the TRS. We leave you with what TRS MLC K. Kavita had to say on this occasion.
Today is the 21st anniversary of TRS party. I would like to congratulate all our leaders and cadre, and also thank the people of Telangana who've blessed TRS party throughout these 21 years and have supported us in times of difficulty, and also when the state was formed in crucial times. Telangana people's support was immense for the party. We thank them for that. Now, after the formation of Telangana also, he tirelessly and relentlessly works for the people of Telangana. That we see in the development of the state today. We're competing with Punjab in agriculture production, we're competing with Bangalore in IT exports. So that way our policies have been wholesome, comprehensive, and the vision of the leader has been very great, and the support of the party leaders and cadre has been wonderful. So today is the 21st anniversary. We are very happy that we could form a political party, we could bring change into the people of Telangana's life, and we can today showcase this state to the country as one of the most fastest developing state in this country.
Drone footage shows villages in Luhansk Oblast completely destroyed in Russian fighting. The Ukrainian government and the Luhansk administration claim that Russian forces have been repelled, but what they have left behind is a sea of destruction. Smoke is seen rising from the Ukrainian city of Chmerinka. This is in the aftermath of Russian shelling, which resulted in at least 5 deaths. Russian forces fired missiles at transport infrastructure facilities in the city, leading to widespread destruction. An electrical substation near the Ukrainian city of Krasny was hit by a Russian missile strike. This substation handled power supply to other lines as well. After the missile strike, smoke was seen billowing from a fire at a substation, which firefighters struggled to extinguish. Ukraine claims that Russia has deployed the Iskander-M missile launchers very close to the border, in fact, within 60 kilometers of the border between Ukraine and Russia. This is a mobile ballistic missile launch system, one of the most deadliest that we have seen in the world. It has been used in this war before as well. 2 guided missiles have a range of up to 500 kilometers, so these are medium-range missiles. They can carry both conventional warheads as well as nuclear warheads, and that's why it makes the Iskander particularly dangerous. Meanwhile, Russia bombed out 5 railway stations in central and western Ukraine over the last few days.
Railway stations are a vital escape route for hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians, and that's why Russian forces are aiming at one of the few ways out of the war-torn country. The attacks happened soon after 2 top officials from the US, Antony Blinken and Lloyd Austin, left by train.
We took a train into Kyiv from southwestern Poland, so didn't see a lot except looking out the train windows on our way in. And in Kyiv itself, we went right to the presidential palace.
Within an hour, air raid sirens were sounded in western Ukraine and the Russian strikes began.
From this side, air defense shot down a missile, then silence. The second explosion was on that side. We've seen black smoke.
How loud was it?
Very loud. Windows rang and we panicked. We were afraid.
In the aftermath of the strikes, remnants of Russian rockets are found scattered all over.
Meanwhile, Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv, is facing a brunt of Russian onslaught.
I want to take you around so you can get a feel for the full scale of the damage that was done here when 2 massive missiles landed in and around this building last month. You can see just out what's left of the window there. That is Freedom Square.
Meanwhile, the United States will be sending as many as 121 Phoenix Ghost drones to Ukraine. Let me explain what these Ghost drones are. They are one-way aircraft for ground targets. These can be based in the air as well as effective against medium armored vehicles. Remember, a lot of the Russian mechanized infantry that's been moving in has been on these infantry vehicles. It can take off vertically. It flies for over 6 hours, so it's got decent battery life. And it operates at night using infrared sensors, and that makes it difficult for moving infantry vehicles to pick up these mechanized drones. Meanwhile, a Hanuman Shobha Yatra in Andhra Pradesh's Nellore district turned viral.
The BJP has alleged that some anti-social elements tried to disrupt the peaceful yatra, which was organized over the weekend. The BJP state co-in-charge Sunil Deodhar tweeted a video of the incident where the procession can be seen passing in front of the mosque, while another group can be seen sloganeering and shouting slogans.
हनुमान जी के मूर्ति के ऊपर खाली बियर की बोतलें फेंकी गई और बहुत बड़े पैमाने में उस मस्जिद के अंदर गुंडे जमा हुए थे जो गंदे इशारे करके
Welcome back. After Karnataka government warned of action against Bengaluru's clearance school for mandating Bibles for all students, Bengaluru Christian body has come out in support of the school, saying that no one was forced to read and bring Bible and that controversial allegations are false. The state government had issued a notice to the school with regard to its decision to mandate teaching Bible and has asked for a reply within 7 days. Yesterday, speaking exclusively to CNN News 18, State Education Minister B.C. Nagesh said that there are several schools that have surfaced solely for the purpose of conversion.
Sir, you have promised that authorities will be going and inspecting all Christian schools. When will this exercise begin?
We came to know this by some of the organizations. And when we saw the website, it was confirmed that they had insisted for the Bible, for the students to carry the Bible. And they are conducting exams in the Bible. So we have, our BEO has given a notice to them according to the democratic procedure. We are expecting an early reply from them. After getting the reply, definitely we are going to take action.
Okay, tell me, sir, what is the initial assessment, and are schools surreptitiously bringing in religion then?
According to the present situation, we feel that the schools were originally built to see that conversion can be made easy. Otherwise, why do they want to teach Bible there? Why do they want to make exams regarding Bible?
So you are essentially saying that these schools are carrying out conversion activities?
I'm not saying that schools were engaged in conversion activity, but originally, because the reply given by the school is that our school was started 103 years ago. Since then, we are using this Bible, and we have made compulsory for every student to study the Bible. Then the original purpose of the school to be started in Karnataka was, I think the purpose was conversion.
Okay, since you are saying that the original purpose was to initiate conversion, then what action will you be taking?
As I said, that as a democratic procedure, we have given the notice. We are expecting the reply from the management. After getting the reply, definitely we will take appropriate action according to the law.
Ritu, my colleague, is also tracking developments in Bengaluru. So, Ritu, what is the exercise currently going on by the state government? How many schools have they contacted? What is the plan? And is it going to be pan-state or just in Bengaluru? Give us a sense of how large this exercise is going to be, where they're going to check what schools are doing in the name of religion.
Well, exactly after BC Nagesh, the Education Minister has issued a notice to the Clarence High School and had ensured that the school will have to get back to the Education Department with their note what exactly was happening, and when they started with all that report, they will have to get back to the Education Department. Meanwhile, block education officers have been allotted the schools here in the Karnataka. All the Christian schools will be done an inspection by the officers. They will look into it, what exactly kind of content was being provided to the students in the schools here in Karnataka.
Okay, I leave it at that, Ritu. Thanks a lot for joining us. Let's take a quick check of some of the other stories we're tracking from across the country. Now, due to rising number of COVID cases in the country, Prime Minister Narendra Modi did chair a virtual meet to take stock of the situation with Chief Ministers. Home Minister Amit Shah, Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia were also in attendance. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's main message was that COVID-appropriate behavior must be maintained in public places as far as this war is concerned.
कोरोना को लेकर ये हमारी 24वीं मीटिंग, ये स्पष्ट है कि कोरोना की चुनौती अभी पूरी तरह से टली नहीं है। पिछले 2 हफ्तों से जिस तरह से कुछ राज्यों में केसेस बढ़ रहे हैं, उससे हमें अलर्ट रहने की जरूरत है।
Meanwhile, India has reported just short of 3,000 new COVID cases, while also registering over 2,200 recoveries in the last 24 hours. Active case tally stands a little over 16,000, while daily positivity rate for the country is under 1%. On the orders of the Uttar Pradesh police, loudspeakers have been taken down in several temples, mosques and other religious institutions. Additional loudspeakers were removed from Badi Masjid and Shiv Mandir of Alauddinpur with consent. Earlier today, a massive fire broke out at a storage space in a ward at Chennai's Rajiv Gandhi Government Hospital. 3 fire tenders were rushed to the spot and the situation is now under control. Fortunately, no casualties or injuries were reported.
Somewhere around 11 the information came, but most importantly, immediately based on the local fire safety measures, they have evacuated the patients. But still, residual fire is there. This is one of the older buildings. Not the new 3 tower blocks are not having any fire accident. They are independent of this.
Even as COVID cases are increasing a little bit across the country, Karnataka Education Department has decided to reopen schools from May 16. Education Minister B.C. Nagesh has said that the 4th wave will not affect the curriculum. UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has asked his ministers to declare their movable and immovable assets. He has even asked public servants, including IAS and IPS officers, to do the same. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is slated to pay a visit to Germany, Denmark and France next month from May 2nd to May 4th. This will be the Prime Minister's first visit abroad this year. A Myanmar court has sentenced ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi to 5 years in jail for corruption. The junta court accused the leader of accepting bribes to the tune of $600,000 in the form of cash and gold bars. This case is the first of 11 corruption charges against Aung San Suu Kyi. CNN News 18's Foreign Affairs editor Maha Siddiqui spoke exclusively to Lithuania's foreign minister about providing weapons to Ukraine. Listen.
Minister Linsbergers, there are reports that Lithuania is running out of weapons to supply to Ukraine. What is the road ahead then? Will Lithuania look at fortifying its own defenses before helping Ukraine?
Probably the weapons that are being delivered to Ukraine can be divided in 2 groups. One group is what we call the strategic reserves. Another group is that you have for training and things like that. So we've provided from the second group almost everything that we have. We are actively inquiring our allies within NATO and elsewhere in order where there is a possibility to do that. But to be honest, Lithuania is a good example and we're proud of what we've been doing, but without the assistance from the major industrial countries such as United States, United Kingdom, Germany and France, countries like Lithuania are unable to provide a sufficient amount of weaponry that is needed in order the Ukrainians would be able to defend their country.
All right, a big attack, a political attack by the Prime Minister on opposition-ruled states, saying they refuse to cut down fuel VAT, both on petrol and diesel. The central government had cut down excise duty to the tune of 5 rupees on petrol and 10 rupees on diesel over the last 6 months ago. But now this has become a full frontal political attack. Let's bring you up to speed with what the Prime Minister said. This was a meeting ostensibly chaired by the Prime Minister to review the COVID situation in the aftermath of rising cases, particularly in Delhi and surrounding areas. The Prime Minister dropped a fuel bomb in the backdrop of this COVID meeting today. He slammed several opposition states for not cutting the fuel tax despite high fuel prices in respective states. The Prime Minister said that the centre had initiated the fuel tax cut. It had cut excise duty and many states had followed, but quite a few states, and he did name some of them, did not cut. He named Maharashtra, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Telangana among others for earning more revenue, and asked these states to cooperate so that they can also slash the fuel tax in national interests and pass on the benefits to the consumer. Let's listen in to what the Prime Minister said, a full frontal attack on the fuel tax politics that's going on between centre and states.
जैसे पेट्रोल डीजल की कीमतों का एक विषय हम सबके सामने है, देशवासियों पर पेट्रोल डीजल की बढ़ती कीमत का बोझ कम करने के लिए केंद्र सरकार ने एक्साइज ड्यूटी में कमी की थी। पिछले नवंबर महीने में कम की थी। केंद्र सरकार ने राज्यों से भी आग्रह किया था कि वो अपने यहां टैक्स कम करे और ये बेनिफिट नागरिकों को ट्रांसफर करे। इसके बाद कुछ राज्यों ने तो भारत सरकार की इस भावना के अनुरूप यहां टैक्स कम कर दिया, लेकिन कुछ राज्यों द्वारा अपने राज्य के लोगों को इसका कोई लाभ नहीं दिया गया। इस वजह से पेट्रोल डीजल की कीमतें इन राज्यों में अब भी दूसरों के मुकाबले कहीं ज्यादा है। जैसा हम जानते हैं कि पिछले साल नवंबर महीने में वैट कम करने की बात की थी, सबको मैंने प्रार्थना की थी, लेकिन कई राज्य, मैं यहां किसी की आलोचना नहीं कर रहा हूं, मैं सिर्फ आपसे प्रार्थना कर रहा हूं, आपके राज्य के नागरिकों की भलाई के लिए प्रार्थना कर रहा हूं। अब जैसे उस समय 6 महीने पहले कुछ राज्यों ने बात को माना, कुछ राज्यों ने नहीं माना। अब कई राज्य जैसे महाराष्ट्र, पश्चिम बंगाल, तेलंगाना, आंध्र प्रदेश, तमिलनाडु, केरला, झारखंड, किसी न किसी कारण से उन्होंने इस बात को नहीं माना और उनके राज्य को, नागरिकों को बोझ कंटिन्यू रहा। मैं इस बात में नहीं जाऊंगा कि इस दौरान इन राज्यों ने कितना रेवेन्यू कमाया, लेकिन अब आपसे मेरी प्रार्थना है कि देश हित में आप पिछले नवंबर में जो करना था, 6 महीने डिले हो चुका है, अब भी आप अपने राज्य के नागरिकों को वैट कम करके इसका बेनिफिट पहुंचाइए।
All right, I want to go across to Arun Danta, who's been tracking this story for us. What are opposition rule states saying in response to the Prime Minister's full frontal political attack that some states, particularly opposition rule states, are not cutting state VAT on fuel despite the centre cutting excise duty 6 months ago?
Well, Zaka, we've seen in last couple of weeks that how opposition parties